Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Keegz, and welcome to podcast number 37 on the 8th of February 2016. I'm joined with, as always, Xenon.
I am the technical problem solver of the podcast. That's how I look at myself.
Yeah, he's the one that fucks everything up as soon as we start.
Yeah, that's pretty much me. It's my job in a nutshell.
We're also joined with our special guest, English Kitsune.
Hello.
Yay! Otherwise known as Rose in the comments.
Yes.
I was like, she was so good at like, you're adding so much value to our podcast like the week before last, I think it was, and I'm like, you've got to get it wrong. We cannot
Yes.
not have this sort of intelligence on the podcast. So just to balance out, Keegz and our stupidity.
Yeah, that's right. Raising the IQ levels,
Yep, by several points.
meeting new markets.
Well informed, if nothing else.
My Google foo is strong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah. I'd like to apologise because I'm eating tea because I got home about 2 hours ago, or 2.5 hours ago. And I'm starving, and Domino's just delivered my pizza about 15 minutes ago, and then I set off my home alarm, so that was fun.
Welcome to the WePlay Podcast.
Welcome
where
to
you
the
can
WePlay
have dinner
Pod.
with us.
I am a technical... yeah. Well, I'd order you guys a pizza too, but, you're too far away.
You could fax me some.
I'll fax you a pizza, hang on. Let me get out my time machine and go back to 1970.
What are we starting with today, is it on?
Well, that is a question. Let me hit the button. Okay, so if you have any questions, tweet them at KeegsKegel or at Xenon_ST during the podcast, or leave a comment below after the stream is edited. Or you can just leave a comment as we go along, because as you're about to see, comments are displayed on the screen and we answer them. We try to answer them as we go along. So, happy fun times. Do you guys have anything you
Very
want
fancy.
to sort of start with before we delve into the headlines?
Yeah. No, not really. I haven't really seen much exciting news this fortnight.
What did you do on the
Nothing
weekend,
jumps
Keegz?
at me anyway.
It's a public holiday where we
What did I
are.
do on the weekend? Well, yes, today is, yes. I did sweet FA, played a few games, finished a few games. That it.
I saw that you
Did
did
a
a
couple of
stream at
streams.
1 o'clock in the morning.
I did 2 streams. I did one of Fastest and one of Pony Island.
Oh, did you? I didn't
Yeah.
even see the second one. Oh, actually, I think I saw this Pony Island one. So how'd you go in Pony Island?
That was terribly. It was bad timing. I was very, very drunk and wasn't ready for that sort of brain tease. And got about, I don't know, I think I played it for about half an hour and got completely stuck. Had no fucking clue what to do.
Good to know. Have you seen
I'll revisit that.
the Pony Island playthroughs?
Not yet. I think I'll have to look them up after
Oh.
the show is done.
Oh, you are in for a treat.
It is a brain fuck, that game.
It's what starts as looks like a fairly boring, what's it, like side scroller jumping pony type thing?
Retro,
Like an 8-bit.
arcade machine, old school.
Yeah, and then it gets very weird from there on in. I watched Jesse Cox, I think it was Jesse Cox playthrough. And yeah,
Probably, yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, what the fuck is this shit? It's the sort of game that you
I
can
got
actually...
stuck when
Go ahead.
I got stuck where the menu fell apart and just you had to try and rebuild the menu, but I didn't
Oh,
know which
yeah.
order to rebuild it in.
It's like, how much effort do I want
It's
to put
one
into
of
this
those games.
game? Yeah.
Yeah.
Breaks the fourth wall.
Game that likes to watch you cry, really.
Fair enough. Well, I went up to the northwest coast today on Saturday morning, and got back about 2 hours ago. So, anything happened over the weekend, I'm sorely uninformed about.
Don't think you missed much.
Well, it's a public holiday here today. Like, it's a public holiday in the south of the state, but not in the north of the state, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, we have separate regatta days.
Kitsune, what did you get up to over the weekend?
Gaming mostly.
Mm.
Finished off South Park and the Stick of Truth finally.
Oh,
That's
yeah?
been on my list for a while.
How'd you find that?
Good. I'm actually really looking forward to the sequel. I was really sort of surprised how well the South Park humor translated into a game, and sort of how well the turn-based combat worked as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of, yeah, just a lot of things really came together to work in that game, and I'm kind of interested to see where they go for the next one, which should be superheroes, I believe it is. Superheroes and villains. So we'll see how that one goes.
Yeah, from what I've seen
I've
of
yet
that,
to play the Stick of Truth.
you haven't played it.
I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah. I keep looking at it every time it's on sale. I'm like, one day I'll get to that. But I say that about a lot of things I never get to.
I think I'm past the point in my life where I'm at the South Park humor stage. It's a very particular type of humor. I'm not sure I can do it anymore.
Most of their stuff is pretty relevant, and they're very up to date on everything when it comes to their humor. I think they're very clever, and they've been going a long time to be able to keep it going. I just don't find the time to watch it anymore.
Particularly the part where you navigate a gerbil up a guy's ass. I think that's particularly topical and relevant.
Mr. Tiddlywinks.
Yeah, so.
Well, each to their own.
But anyway, what else is going on? I guess we can discuss most of that in the end game section where we talk about what we do, what we've done, what we're playing. So I guess let's get on with it.
Yeah.
Bang! Headlines. First headline is Star Citizen to cost extra dollarydoos. Keegz, tell me about the Star Citizen. Why is it costing me extra dollarydoos?
They've decided to make the single player part of it like a separate entity, which people seem to be quite upset about. It's fair enough, I guess.
Well,
I believe that in the beginning they didn't. Well, I think that the reason people are pissed off is I believe during the whole Kickstarter and everything beginning, they just said that this was going to be part of the game, so it was just going to be a one buy sort of situation. But things have seemed to have changed since then.
Well, the thing is, I mean, if you've already pre-ordered it, it doesn't affect you because you're still going to get both of them. And if you pre-order it up until February 14th, you'll still get both for whatever it is.
14th, yeah.
Yeah, up to the 14th. You'll still get both, but it's only people pre-ordering. Pre-ordering? Is it pre-ordering technically? I guess it's pre-ordering after that. That's when you have to pay.
Buying in, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Still seems like a little bit of a cash grab to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why they should have to. I mean, they've got so much money. I don't know. I mean, I guess accountants have got hold of this and gone, well, we can get more money this way. Why don't we do this? And nobody said no.
Yeah.
I believe I did read one article which said part of it is due to extra costs in developing the single player campaign, possibly related to the fact that they're hiring a lot of very famous actors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You've got Mark Hamill in a quite large role. That's going to cost you.
That's going to cost you some money,
unless he's feeling generous.
Gillian Anderson.
Yes, that was the one I sort of went, she just started in X-Files and she's a voice actor in XCOM. Not XCOM, in
Gary
Star
Oldman.
Citizen.
But Gary Oldman's in like every game ever, basically. He's like the gaming actor.
So the trying to talk with a mouthful of garlic bread. So the single player component is called Squadron 42, and it will require a separate purchase on Valentine's Day, actually. But there's no
that's when they stop the pre-orders.
Yeah. So nobody knows how much it's going to cost yet, though. So I guess we'll wait and see.
The other interesting thing is Squadron 42 is episodic. It's only episode 1 coming out early this year.
Right.
With the later episodes coming out later. Now, I'm interested to know, which I haven't been able to find out, does that mean we're just paying for episode 1 once it splits? Are we going to have to start paying an extra $5 down the line to pay for
season passes and shit?
Yeah.
Don't get kickstarted on season passes. Fuck.
Fucking
We're here or not.
God damn it. Yeah, I reckon it'll be like that. I reckon it'll, well, this pre-order thing probably only gives you the first episode, and then Squadron 42 will come out. You'll probably have to fork out for the rest of it, I reckon.
Oh, you're saying people have already paid,
I mean,
only going to get the first episode? Or
I
people
reckon
after the
so. I reckon
14th?
that's how it's going to be.
That would be a super dick move.
Well, I think both. I think the people who have already paid will get the first episode of Squadron 42, and then anybody else will have to buy, like any other episodic game, the first episode or a season pass.
personally, I know there was a huge backlash over the fact that there wasn't more of the single player content being seen with Star Citizen, because that was something they had promised from the very start of it. And so I'm starting to wonder if they haven't done this just to shut up the naysayers. You know, it's like, yes, look, we are doing things with the single player campaign. Now go away and let us keep on going with the multiplayer beta as well.
Yeah, and now you've already put money in. You're entitled now to the first episode or whatever, just to keep them quiet. Yeah.
I don't
It
like it.
seems to be a bit of a shock.
It's a bit fishy to me. I don't like
You
it.
don't like it?
I don't like it.
Everything gets fishy when it starts to become about payment options after. I mean, it's all well and good when you've jumped into a Kickstarter and whatever, but if this is becoming a AAA title, once they're going to be AAA money involved.
Oh, there's have to be
It's
AAA money
also the
now.
fact-
Just in, I mean,
Well-
how much money did they raise in so far? 140 million.
Over 100 million.
Yeah. I mean,
107 million in early January.
GTA 5 was only 200 million. What's that only? It was 200 million.
Yeah, but then Destiny was 600 million.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of puts it in perspective then.
There's a lot of money in these sort of games.
Well,
But the thing that annoys me with this is that I would have assumed that I can understand you having to pay separately for the single player, because then that caters for people who just want the single player, they don't want to play the multiplayer. But the other way around, the multiplayer is about in-game purchases with ships and stuff, basically. That's how I assumed that they would make their money out of it. Now they're sort of turning around and you have to buy both if you want them.
I saw, which really got the hairs on the back of my neck raised up, was the fact that there will be certain benefits and items which transfer over between the games. Like the titular Star Citizenship. In single player, you can use a single player campaign to get your citizenship, which is an in-game mechanic, which pretty much means you're slightly better off than the other people. You get taxed less, you get all of this sort of stuff. And so I'm sat there thinking, so for paying, $20 or however much the single player game is going to be, you're essentially going to say, okay, you're going to get some nice cosmetics, some free items, a custom campaign. Oh, but you're also going to get this buff, which will carry over to the multiplayer game.
Yeah, right. Pay to win. Bullshit.
Yeah. It's hidden under several layers, but it's definitely there that you're going to be better off for playing the single player campaign than if you just went for straight multiplayer.
I can see the value in someone having not that they have to pay for it, but I still see the value in someone, when they finish the single player campaign, getting something extra. Not so much a buff, but getting a new ship.
Cosmetic.
Maybe something cosmetic, but maybe something a bit more. I don't know. Where do you draw the line between something cosmetic and something actually useful? I don't know, extra money maybe or something. I don't know. I feel like you should get something for finishing the campaign.
You should just get a cool badge that hangs off your uniform or something to show that you're a high rank or something. It doesn't actually do anything. It just shows that you have completed the single player mission that you can flash in people's faces.
One of those large novelty birthday badges which just says, I am single player.
Yeah, just a balloon that follows you around tied to your waist or something.
I have single player.
It has completed single player.
I am wins.
100% completist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Actually,
maybe.
Speaking of Star Citizen, I will bring up something later on, which ties back to this because it will kind of spoil later news.
Ooh.
Okay.
I await it in. Yeah. Okay. Well, are we done with Star Citizen? Can we move on to Good Guy Hizzy?
Okie dokie.
Good Guy Hizzy, or H1Z1, to be split into 2 paid games. Keegz, I feel like we've been here before.
Have we?
Have we? Well, they're splitting Star Citizen into
I don't
2
know.
games. H1Z1 is being split into
Oh, right.
2
Okay,
games.
I get you. I'm like,
Do you not
I
draw the
thought
parallels
we were
between the
talking about
two?
this particular. So we're talking about this particular topic. I'm like, I'm sure this is new news.
No. So the H1Z1 Early Access game, which has been in Early Access. How long has it been in Early Access for? A year? 2 years? 10
Quite
years?
a while now. Bit over a year.
Since I was a wee lad. It's going to be split into 2 separate games: open world survival mode and a competitive battle royale mode being the other. And they're each going to be sold separately
Yeah, I can kind of understand that.
for dollarydo money. Real dollarydoos.
I kind of get this though. I can understand this
Do you think it's
because
weird having?
they are 2 completely different types of games.
Yeah. Do you think it's weird we've had two
To be
games, 2 separate games, both being split into 2 separate games in the same week?
Maybe this is the new.
Well-
Yeah, but this is kind of different because this isn't single player or
That's
multiplayer.
true.
This is 2 separate multiplayer games.
But yeah,
This
I
is
don't know.
like paying extra for another game mode, really.
Yeah, I mean, how do you draw the line between, or how do you differentiate between? Because I'm presuming, well, the developers' reasoning for this is they're saying if you want to play, the battle royale mode, you only have to pay for this. But if you want to play this open world survival mode, you only have to pay for this. And it's like, well, how much was it going to cost in the first place? Are you charging us double, or are you charging us half for each? I get the feeling.
Half the issue here is that it was originally meant to be free to play. That's kind of the problem. It was when it first came out, and they were sort of talking about it. It was meant to be. It was going to be a free to play game with in-game microtransactions. Now you're going to have to pay for the game or the new game that they've also split it into.
Are they still doing microtransactions?
microtransactions are live and in the game.
Yeah, that's the drops and stuff. Yeah. However, I think we even talked about this a while ago when this game came out, is that the microtransactions in this are a little bit different in the fact that you're not really guaranteed to get it because it drops out of the sky, and you have to get to it.
But you still have to pay for it.
If you don't, then somebody else will get it. Yeah, you still have to pay for it. It's just not guaranteed you're going to get there. Or you're going to get there and 20 other people are there that are going to kill you and take your shit.
Yeah, I don't like their business
But
model.
I do.
They're pretty much double dipping. I don't like it.
I don't like it either. But I don't like the fact that they're charging for it now.
What's also funny and interesting I found is this game is sort of, came from DayZ, that whole generation of games. It was one of the first ones to really imitate it. And suddenly you've got the same thing again, where it's like, oh look, here's this little side mode we made, Battle Royale, which has suddenly become almost more popular than the main game. So they're splitting off and creating a full game, as they originally tried to do with DayZ.
Because I think this whole mode was originally in Arma. Was it a mod for
it was an
Arma?
Arma mod.
Where you drop in and So these guys have sort of jumped on the bandwagon of that, and like you said, it's sort of become more popular than the survival mode.
To be fair, that's where it actually works.
Yeah. Have you played it?
No. I've seen a lot of footage of it, but H1Z1, Hizzy, whatever you want to call it, it came out too late for me. I was sort of already burnt out of the zombie survival genre. I
was in the same boat because I played the shit out of the DayZ mod, and then I bought the DayZ game, and it's still in early access, so I've just given up completely on the whole zombie genre.
That whole zombie fad's pretty much gone now. I mean, we're probably closer to having a new zombie fad than the previous one.
Well, right now, H1Z1 is still well, it's on sale at the moment, but it's $20 normally. On sale at 15 at the moment. Yeah, I was under the impression, I'm pretty sure they even talked about it, that it was meant to be free to play. And I think it was to start with.
It was,
I
think it was to start with. But the stupidity of that is that it used to be free to play. They then started charging for it. No, it used to be free to play with microtransactions. Then they started charging for it. And now they're split into two games and they're charging the same price for both. I mean, if that's not a dickish business practice, then I don't know what the fuck is, because it's really shit.
Well, clearly, I think they were just expecting it to do as well as PlanetSide 2, which is the other game they made a while ago, because that's still free to play and that's still alive and kicking. And I guess they were hoping that they could do the same sort of thing with H1Z1, but it didn't happen. So now they've got to cut their losses and try and do something with it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they jumped on the zombie bandwagon right at the right time, but I think people were getting a bit disillusioned with the whole zombie thing, because there was just so many fucking shovelware games coming out. They're all zombie related, or the open world sandbox zombie shooter type game. We were flooded with them, and people just got sick of it.
Yeah.
So
what can you do?
What can you do?
And the thing is also,
Yeah.
now the entire survival genre is flooded. I mean, you've got dinosaur survival, you've got just regular survival, you've got urban survival.
Well,
And it's just
dinosaur
like
survival
they're
was the new zombie survival.
Yeah, God, yeah. I mean,
The Ark one.
Yeah, I'm thinking Ark
I
specifically.
think Ark was the first one to really do it right and has become one of the more popular ones. Again, due to decent content, an okay engine. It is very intensive, but they're trying. They actually have the most dedicated team into it, as far as I know.
Yeah. Yeah, Ark seems to be sort of speeding up rather than slowing down, which is good.
Wasn't there another?
I haven't played it myself.
There was another dinosaur survival game. I'm struggling to remember what it was now.
That was the one where the devs just up and left all of a sudden.
Primal Carnage, Primal Hunt, something like that.
Maybe it was Primal Hunt.
Primal Hunt was from the makers of Deer Hunter. That was just a mod, basically, for Deer Hunter with dinosaurs instead of animals.
Yeah.
But there was one that came out before Ark, which everybody got excited about, because it was pretty much the same as Ark, where you could tie people up and put them in cages, and you had to fight dinosaurs and build or whatever. But that came along so far, and then the devs just disappeared, and it just stopped being supported. Really,
What was the name of this?
I can't remember what it's called now.
Well, that doesn't help.
I can't remember.
That doesn't help us, Keegz. What the fuck?
I know. Yeah, I'll see if I can Google it.
Keegz is furiously googling. So what else can we tell them about
Yeah.
H1Z1? If you've already purchased it in early access, you'll have access to both, and you have to pay for anything. February 17th is the split date. What else? No, I don't have much else to say about H1Z1. None of us really play it. None of us are interested in it, so it's not something we keep up with very much. Consider, do you keep up with this genre at all?
Not really. It had its time. There was a time when it was popular,
It's coming
and then it just died out again.
Yeah, it's not that. Yeah, I don't know. It's
To be fair, the fact that it's died out again means this would probably be the right time to get back into it if you could find a dedicated group, because you wouldn't have as many griefers or bandits or any of that sort of stuff. But yeah,
the days
hype
the
train
effect
has
has come
passed
and
it, so
gone.
people don't care anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Well, while Keegz is furiously googling, we shall move on to the next topic, which
I'm still trying, but it doesn't seem to be on Steam anymore.
Who knows? Well, I'm not surprised if the devs are up and fucked off. Okay. Let's move on to the next topic. Bethesda support is apparently pretty good, in inverted commas. Kitsune, why don't you tell us about this one?
Oh.
While I eat
Oh god. Okay. So a person recently ordered the Fallout 3 limited edition vinyl set. It's 4 discs containing the music from Fallout 3, which they released in limited edition to basically run off the hype train of Fallout 4. However, when he received it, one of the vinyls, disc 1 I believe, was warped and couldn't be played. So he got in contact with the customer support, which I will note, Bethesda's store is actually run by ThinkGeek, so it isn't so much Bethesda who were in the wrong here, it's ThinkGeek's customer service, which fucked up.
Oh dear.
So he got in contact with them and he said, look, this is damaged, could I get a refund? And this is the very important wording. He asked for a refund. He never asked for a replacement. And so next day he checked his bank account and sure enough, there was a refund in there for the cost of just the 1 disc. So he was a bit confused and he got in touch with them and sort of said, what the hell? And their response was, well, only the 1 disc is damaged. If you want a full refund, you will have to provide evidence of destruction of the other discs, which is standard business practice for something like this. I will point that out. And so he made a post on Twitter of him grandstanding about it, and because he works in the same office as Eurogamer, they picked it up, made an article about it, and it's blown up over Twitter.
I think it's more that
honestly,
Bethesda said asked him to destroy the records, and he's posted a picture of him holding a hammer with his eyes closed, like, oh, and then a bunch of broken records.
But the thing is, that is standard operating practice.
I can sort of understand it, and sort of like I understand both sides. Like I understand it has to be destroyed, but if you've got something that's limited edition and there's not very many of them made, destroying them just seems wrong.
I would have thought that the standard operating would have been send us back the discs, including the broken one, and then we'll refund you or send you new ones.
Well, here's the thing. That would be the normal one if it wasn't limited edition. I checked it out on their store. There were 2,500 of these made. Now, that means for a limited edition run, you would have maybe 50 spare sets of discs, full sets. They're not going to break those up because that loses them money. You know, they can't sell a 3-disc set of a 4-disc album. And the other thing is, he never asked for it to be replaced. He only ever asked for a refund.
Yeah, I guess that's fair enough.
So when he got the refund for the 1 disc, he then went back and complained, no, I want a full refund, even though all the other discs still worked fine. So if he hadn't have done that, he could have still enjoyed his discs. You know, he still could have enjoyed the 75% of the music remaining. He could have even put those discs up on eBay and sold them, because I'm sure there's other people out there who would happily pay a lot of money for them, even if the disc is warped. They would put it on a shelf. They probably wouldn't even own a record player. They would never care. Instead, he asked for all the money back and then got upset when they did the proper procedure. On top of that, he could have said no. He still chose to destroy the discs in the end.
Break
it
them.
wasn't if they were bashing him over the head and saying, no, you must destroy them now or else we will come to your house with a great big sledgehammer and do it for you. He made that choice.
I was going to say, I guess that's the big thing, isn't it? He still did it, so why is everybody complaining?
The bit that sort of got me and sort of made me think, oh, who is this guy? Is that, like in his quoted words, without the first disc, the rest of the set is useless. It looks like you've refunded me 1/4 of the records, and since it's not possible to purchase the rest of the disc set, the entire record is unusable, and I can't listen to some of the music. Well, that's not exactly true. You can listen to 75% of the music. It's not like the rest of it doesn't work. It's just that you can't listen to a quarter of it.
Download the rest.
It's like well, I think the idea is you have the whole album, and it's like, well, you can actually listen. It's like getting buying a CD with 3/4 of an album on it. You can still listen to the rest of the album. It's just a case of, you know, how much value do you put into the other quarter. So,
Well, what he could do, what he could do now anyway, is that he could have smashed them all up, made like a nice mural out of them, and then sold it on eBay, and it'd probably make more money.
you should have framed it.
Well,
Should have framed the
that's it.
broken pieces.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if he wanted to smash them all for the full refund, he didn't want to listen to it. He just wanted it for a collector's item. He could still turn it into a collector's item and just be an unusable one.
Well, that's exactly what I said. Also, I think the keyword here is limited edition. You know, there were 2,500 of these made. With applying for spares and breakages, etc., it would have been about 2,550, 2,600. I know this because my brother's a huge record collector. I'm literally staring at a wall of his stuff right now. And so, yeah, that is standard operating, because you don't want to send someone a full replacement of discs, even though the guy never asked for that, I will point out again, because that way he has free discs he can suddenly sell later on down the line when someone is looking for those discs individually. He just said, you cannot buy them individually. That means he could sell them for probably the price of the full album in a year's time. And that's what the customer service are worried about and trying to prevent.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I don't think it's a big deal. I think the internet's just been the internet.
Storm of in a teacup, as per usual.
Yeah.
Oh, the Stomping Land is the game I was trying to think of before.
The Stomping Land?
The Stomping Land is that survival game I was trying to think of before.
Ooh.
The one where the
dinosaur
devs
game
just
that came out-
disappeared halfway through.
Yeah, okay. Well, fair enough. I'm just looking at this guy, Paul Watson. Apparently he's some guy at the Gamer Network. I don't know what the Gamer Network is. Might be sorely uninformed.
I think that is tied into Eurogamer.
Right. Uh-oh. Bit of...
So he's making a story out of it, really.
Yeah, I think it's probably...
Basically, yeah. I doubt
does
this
the
would
job.
even be news if he didn't work in the same office as them.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that sounds like... I don't know. Like, I'm sort of on his side and sort of not. Like, I think he's a bit of a dick, but at the same time, I sort of feel for him having to smash something that's limited edition, and probably something he was quite looking forward to getting.
He didn't have to, though.
Well,
There was nothing that actually made him smash it. He still made that choice
what's that?
because in the end, the money was more important to him.
Yeah,
I
he
see
could
your
get a
point
replacement.
and raise you Fallout 3 hype. That's my ending argument there. Everyone loves Fallout.
That's sort of the open-ended argument, but okay.
Shall we move on?
Yes, that's...
Good. The Binding of Isaac Rebirth has been rejected by Apple due to violence against children, or supposed violence against children. So
Let's be fair, it's Binding of Isaac. It's not supposed, it's pretty blatant violence against children.
Yeah, it's violence against children.
well, why don't you educate me on this violence against children? You two? I'd love to hear it. Not violence
The whole
against children.
game's about his mum.
Yeah, but there's
The
no
whole game
actual
is about
violence.
his mum's abuse to him.
Yeah, but there's no actual
You
violence
are a
against
child being attacked by spiders and weird brain monkey things.
Yeah,
You
Also
are constantly
several
in
aborted
danger as a
fetuses.
child. Yeah, and aborted fetuses.
And other
Your-
former children of your mum.
Your weapon is literally his tears. You use your own child's tears as a weapon.
Well, don't you play as the
Tears,
child?
Piss, shit, blood. Yes, you
Yeah,
do.
you play as a child.
But
Well,
you
I-
also
You are
beat
Isaac.
up other children.
Yeah, but you're not beating other children. I mean, if you're not... I think if you're not the one abusing children, then it's okay. Well, it's not okay, obviously, but it should be okay in
You have to
so far
fight a
as...
fetus at a few times.
Okay. But... I don't know. It's a grey area, and I think we should...
I don't think it's
on the side of, you know...
I don't think it's something I'd really want to play on my phone anyway.
Well, that too.
God no. I don't know how Binding of Isaac would work on touchscreen. You just do not have like the control.
The
capable
control
to play
required.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like the same way how Nintendo originally declined to put it on their store because it has religious motives, which, fair enough, it does. You know, it's based on a biblical story.
They're very they're very strange with their picks and things like that though. 'Cause, yeah, they won't have it for its biblical stuff, but they'll have something like Bayonetta, which is the complete other end of the spectrum.
Now that they've actually done Binding of Isaac Afterbirth or Rebirth or whatever the hell it's called, that it is actually now on the 3DS and Wii U. You can now buy it on the Nintendo store.
Right.
So
they just took all that stuff out, did they?
Yeah. Well, no, they didn't. It's still.
Well, you can't. It's the whole movie. It's the whole point of the game.
I think Nintendo is very subtly doing a brand redesign. They are trying to bring in more mature audiences. Partially, I think, where they realize so many of their audience is already adult, and they're just going off nostalgia value right now.
Yeah, they're running out of nostalgia though.
Nintendo going exactly. So they want to try and find more adult IPs, which they can sell and keep going with the adult market.
I first figured that's what they'll try and do when they did that iZombie, whatever it's called, that zombie game.
Zombie U.
Yeah, Zombie U, that's it. Yeah.
Which, to be fair, was a good game.
Yeah.
I actually played that not too long after release, and I really enjoyed it. It was one of the few horror games which actually gave me legitimate tension.
Yeah, right. I have to give it a go. I've got a Wii U that's been covered in dust in my lounge room somewhere.
Sitting there doing fuck all.
Yeah, I haven't played much of it.
As most people's Wii U's do.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Wii U's are kind of, the way I see them, especially at the moment now, as you said before, the nostalgia, like that's starting to die out now. There's only so many times you can rebrand Mario. But now I consider it more to be I mean, I guess originally it was supposed to be a family game, but yeah, as we just said, with the new older audiences they're trying to reach. I suppose they're still just trying to reach the whole family, because then you've got the parents that have got something they want to play, the kids have still got something they can play, and they can play it together for like big families.
Oh yeah,
that's how I've always seen Nintendo.
It's a weird thing with Mario, isn't it? Like the older generations have the nostalgia, and the new generations have the bright colors, and all the action going on.
My 4-year-old son loves Mario.
But
he's playing it on an NES. He's not playing it on the Wii U. Yeah. Well, it's sort of hit a bit of a wall now because he doesn't know how to run jump.
As soon as he figures
he
that out.
Hasn't quite got the dexterity to run jump, yeah. He sort of cracks his shits with it.
It'll be like the velociraptors in Jurassic Park working out how to open the doors. They'll be unstoppable.
Yeah. Clever girl.
So, coming back to the Apple Store, do you think it's valid? Do you think it's a valid reason not to put it on the Apple Store? Because I don't. I don't think it's...
Oh, God, no. It's an established game. It's known in the industry. All it would take was some person to Google it for 30 seconds and then say, okay, let's approve it. Likely, this is someone looking at it, not really caring, not really knowing the backstory behind it, and just blocking it. I will be really surprised if it isn't on there within a month or 2 months' time.
Yeah.
However, that being said, people getting angry at Apple for, controlling their store and controlling their IP, good on Apple. It's better than fucking Steam Greenlight.
Oh
yeah, I mean, at least Apple.
At
least Apple are taking a.
Let's calm down a minute there.
Taking a step forward for it.
In no way is Apple better than Steam.
Remember.
Calm down.
Remember, Apple's the same people that took down all those Confederate flag games as well. They've certainly got they know what they want on their store, and they're not going to have it any other way.
Yes, with one hand, Apple punches, and with the other hand, Apple taketh away. I'm going to mix metaphors there.
Honestly, like, the one thing I can't fault Apple for is knowing their brand, knowing what they want, and not being afraid to pursue that. I mean, even when you compare Apple Store to the Play Store, you will find so many more games iOS exclusive simply because Apple offer a better service.
Yeah.
Google have really dropped the ball on that one, and if Apple wants to do things like this simply because it maintains the status quo which they've established, then that's their call. They probably won't care about the loss of money in the long run because it's a drop in the ocean for them.
Yeah. It's just one little game. I mean, they don't care. As many of the fans can kick up a stink as they want, but Apple is still going to keep charging through. So.
Is that a good thing? I mean, this is clearly wrong, and will probably be fixed. But as a general rule, I don't think this is.
I don't think it's. I don't think it's a bad thing because at least they have made rules and they're sticking to them. So yeah, if you don't meet their standards, then you're not on the store. That's as straight as it is.
The problem is that
as long as they keep that way,
it probably does. I mean, it's misrepresenting what these rules were made for. I mean, this rule 15.2 details your app contains content or features that depict violence towards or the abuse of children, which is not allowed in the Apple Store. Yes, that is absolutely right. You should absolutely stop that sort of game from being put on the Apple Store. But this is not really that, is it? It's a 2D procedurally generated dungeon crawler with super cartoon graphics, and the point of the game is not that the boy is being abused. It's that he's trying to escape his mother, which is not an unreasonable premise for a game.
Kill him.
Well, yeah, but that's not an unreasonable premise for a game.
You need to have a line somewhere. I mean, I can understand that, yes, this is just sort of barely hanging in the grey area, but I guess they just take a more strong stance on it to make sure that this is, everything meets the requirements. Because otherwise people are going to complain that they're not meeting the requirements. Like, hey, this has got child abuse in it. Well, it's barely child abuse.
Stick a fucking age restriction on it. Make it PG 15 plus or something. You can't just go, no, this is wrong. I mean, they can because they did, but you can't just stick it's not black and white. It's not a yes or no thing. This is in the grey area, but barely in the grey area insofar as it's almost in the white area, not almost in the black for me. This is so ridiculous. I don't see why this is even a thing. If Steam had done this, I'd have been like, I mean, what the fuck? I mean, Steam wouldn't do it because they don't curate fucking anything, but
but Steam is sort of worse in a way because they have gone against things like with the hatred thing. That sort of went out, everybody kicked up a stink, they pulled it, then they put it back. I mean, that sort of shows how unstable it is. Whereas with Apple, at least, they're going to say, no, there's straight up, no, we're not having it.
But it's neither answer is correct, though, really. It's just a matter of which one's less wrong. And in my opinion, I think the Steam answer, flawed as it is probably the correct way to do it, as opposed to saying, nope, this is wrong. But it's clearly not. When it's clearly, it's clearly not child abuse, is it?
Well, you'll just have to go to the PlayStation Store, the Wii U, or Steam to play Binding of Isaac rather than your iPhone.
Which also is a valid point. The game's been out for how long now?
Yeah, it's been out for 2 years or something.
Ages. People who are going to pick it up on the phone are probably only the people who already own it or already play it. It is not the sort of game I would see on the Play Store and think, oh, yeah, I'd play that. It looks like a bright and happy fun game. It really does not.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a Metacritic score of 84, which is not bad for Metacritic. I'm trying to find the things that it's won. All of the awards that's won. I
played on the PS4 because it was in one of the free games that you get with the PlayStation Plus thing.
Right.
So I'd heard of it, but I never played it. So I got it for free. So I'm like, fuck it, I'll give it a go. It was all right. Yeah, it was sort of.
It's got its own little niche. Like it has definitely carved out its own place in the gaming culture. I think the biggest problem comes with the fact that its themes are so dark.
That's just it.
If it was a unicorn shooting rainbows, it would have no problems.
Yeah.
But the direction that the original artist took it, which isn't wrong, I want to say that. I love Binding of Isaac. I really like the direction. I love the fact that you can, shoot piss, shit, blood and tears everywhere and kill aborted fetuses. It's a refreshing change of pace to sort of see a game that is able to take those themes and do something different with them. But we can't deny the fact that it is dealing with very, very dark themes.
Yeah, it is, but I think that's why it has its niche, because it's such a sort of simple, fun game, but it has that such a dark undertone, which is actually really interesting in the storyline. That you have people who are die-hard fans that absolutely love it, and then the other side of the internet's like, oh, it's just another dungeon crawler. It's all right.
Exactly.
It's not. Yeah. I don't know. I still think Apple is wrong. Like, there's no reason this should be banned.
Oh yeah.
You're biased though.
I am.
I'm
I
not
fucking hate
saying
Apple.
Apple
So.
are right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Apple are right. I think it's a stupid decision, and as I said, it'll be on the store in 1 or 2 months at most. But I can see where they're coming from with this. I'm not about to grab a noose and go out and lynch whoever the CEO of Apple is.
Can we say then that this is a rule that is correct, that is implemented incorrectly in this case?
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
so. I will give Apple a little bit of credit, because this is actually pride over profit. So I will give them that credit for it. But still, I don't think it should be banned, but they
I'd more say
banned
it's a lack of research. There is someone sitting at a desk surrounded by 25 other people doing the exact same job. He sees this game pop up with an application. He scrolls down the checklist, sees the problem, ticks the box, he gets that response. The actual email he received was a very automated response.
Yeah.
This is you haven't been accepted. This is why. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway.
I don't know. What can you do? Fucking Apple, eh? Moving on. The last thing I wanted to cover was there's a new Steam sale. It's called the Lunar New Year sale. If ever there was a reason to hold a Steam sale, why not this one? So it's the Chinese Lunar New Year or something, I think is what it is.
Is it just Chinese New Year? Is that?
I don't think it's there's a
February
lot of
12th?
Chinese iconography in the picture that I'm looking at, so maybe.
Yeah, I'll look up when the Chinese New Year is. I know it's definitely not in January, so maybe this is what it's about.
Maybe that is.
I think
Chinese New Year.
it might be the first new moon of the year or something.
Sounds
Or something weird like that.
sounds.
Well, it is
plausible.
the year of the monkey this year, apparently. So
That'd be why there's a
that'd be
monkey
why
on
there's
there.
a monkey hanging there.
Yeah.
Figure out what date it is.
If you're interested in finding out about this particular Steam sale, there's actually a sort of choose your own adventure type game at if you click on the actual sale itself, which you go to store.steampower.com, and you shall see the big Lunar New Year sale, and about halfway down there is a orange box where it says your first obstacle is a massive body of water. Do you swim across or hitch a ride or drive a long way around? And you basically go through picking these two options. Like you can either swim or you can drive. So if you click on swim, it shows you a bunch of games that are vaguely water related, such as Shark Attack and Reveal the Deep and Star Wall and Sunless Sea. And if you scroll right to the bottom of that, there's a new one. It's like you arrive at the edge of a busy port city where an epic battle is playing out on the beach. Pirates against ninjas, a conflict older than time itself. Which side do you jump in? You have to pick pirates or ninjas. And if you click on pirates, you get a bunch of pirate games, and then you go on from there. And you go through about 10 or 15 of these, and eventually there's no achievement at the end, which is a bit disappointing. But it basically just goes through and shows you games that you might be interested in out of the two options that it gives you. So, and they're all on sale. So yeah, go figure.
Also, as it turns out, the Chinese New Year is today, February 8th.
That will make sense then. But it's called the Lunar New Year, not the Chinese New Year.
Well, I'm assuming this is a complete assumption that the Chinese may go off lunar months originally or something like that. I don't know.
That's
That
not
would be why
why
they're
didn't call it the Chinese New Year.
their New Year.
There you go.
Wow. I guess to not associate it with anything Chinese.
Oh, I guess it's a
Lunar-
possibility.
Lunar New Year is basically like calling Christmas Happy Holidays.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
the
that's
PR
right.
version of Chinese New Year. I see.
Pretty
Um,
I guess that's fair enough.
I don't like it, but I understand it. And it ends on the February the 12th at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you like your wallet getting a fleecing, head on to Steam. What else is going on, gentlemen?
There's actually some pretty good deals on there.
Good time to grab Firewatch for everybody who's been waiting for Firewatch.
Firewatch?
10% off. Been waiting for this game for like 2 years.
Oh, tell me more about this Firewatch.
2 days. It's a adult game. It's pretty much a walking simulator. And you're just having a conversation. You're like a park ranger dude, and you're having a conversation with somebody in the tower while you go and investigate things.
Okay.
It's a very narrative sort of. Just I don't know. Talking.
Limpos asked, what gimmick do they have to lure people into buying these worthless games? It's like, well, do we have a gimmick for you? Yeah, it's it's a kind of weird way of doing a Steam sale. It's like, here's all the pirate games, or here's all the ninja related games. Or, like, why
I did the
pirate
first
games?
one, and that was it. I'm just like, no.
I went through all of them. I didn't actually
swing.
look through the ones that I actually wanted to. Like, I didn't add anything to the cart. I was just like, what's the next one? I was like, oh, it's the Ninja vs Pirates, and this one's sea related. This one's Earth related. I was like, oh. And you get right to the end expecting it. I was expecting an achievement, to be honest. So.
I guess at most it could potentially, open your eyes up to games you hadn't considered before. Like, if you get an option where you're sort of like, oh, I don't really care for either of these, I'm just going to choose this one. And then if you actually bother to look for it, you might find a hidden gem in there. But, yeah.
I think everybody
it just feels like a cheap gimmick.
Yeah, everybody's pretty much just like clicking on the one that they dislike the least and then scrolling to the bottom of the page to go to see what the next one is, to see if it's a genre they're actually interested in. It's like card games or fighting. Well, I'm not really interested in either of those fucking things.
I'm at the point now where whenever a Steam sale comes on now, all I do is look at my wish list, see if anything's on sale. If not, I go back and just ignore it.
I'm one of those few people that actually doesn't give a fuck about the Steam sales. It's like, if I want to buy something, I'll go out and buy it at that point. I don't wait for a Steam sale, and I don't like. Yeah, I just don't wait for a Steam sale to come along. I'll go, oh, that's too expensive. I'll wait for a Steam sale and then purchase it. It's like, no, if I really want it, I'll buy it and I'll pay full price. If it happens to be on sale, then great. If it's not, then fuck it.
I used to be all over them, but now, like, I've already looked at all the games that are on sale.
All of them. Keegz has seen all the games.
Yeah. Well, it is, and because there's bloody sales every couple of months now, that I've already seen all the games that I was interested in. They're just kind of pointless now.
Okay.
Well, especially as sort of, Fallout 4, which I will admit I picked up during this sale period. I picked it up yesterday. That had maybe 33% off, which means it was now only slightly more expensive than its actual season pass. But that's a relatively recent game, and it's still really popular.
Yeah.
And so I'm only recently not a student, so I definitely come from, scraping coins together to survive, sort of thing. So I definitely get by on Steam sales, and I normally, buy 5 or 6 smaller games rather than one big one. Fallout is definitely the exception to that rule, because I know I can get, at least 100 hours plus out of it.
Yeah.
And so, sort of, yeah, I appreciate the Steam sales. I think I do agree with you when there's way too many of them. Like, every other week they now do, midweek sales.
Something's always on sale.
Offers, etc.
Yeah, it's true that they've been getting more and more of them lately, and I can understand that they're doing it because it always drives sales. But if they keep doing it so often, there's no point, because it won't drive sales anymore, because it'll just be another sale. Awesome.
Keep bashing that cash cow.
Yeah, it's like, well, I can't afford it this week. I'll wait for the next sale next week and buy it then.
The number of times I've heard someone say, oh, it's fine, I'll wait for the next time it's on sale, and then actually, having it, come up the next week or next month, going, yeah, I just, bought it next month. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
If you want something, generally it's going to be on sale within 3 months. It doesn't matter what sort of game it is. It's generally going to be on sale within 3 months.
To me, it plays into this larger thing which is happening in the gaming industry right now, which is how little trust there is about release dates, sort of, the state of release games on release, etc. I mean, you had the whole Batman Arkham Knight fiasco.
Yes.
And sort of, and more recently Just Cause 3 with all the problems that had, etc. And, this has been an ongoing trend in the past year, and it's only getting worse. So I will definitely never buy a game as soon as it comes out, because I half expect it to be a giant pile of shit.
Well, it kind of depends. Like for AAA titles, it's gone in a weird direction. AAA titles you basically expect to be broken on release. If it's by Bethesda, if it's by Ubisoft, if it's by who else is a fucking
Let's be fair, Bethesda were definitely the hipsters of this trend.
They were producing buggy games long before everyone else. No, like Bethesda and Ubisoft are really the fucking worst ones. Recently,
EA.
Oh yes, and EA, fucking hell. So they're
EA are bad. Ubisoft tend to come and go depending on their games.
It depends on actually which Ubisoft studio makes the game.
Yeah, that as well. I mean, Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4, really brilliant games. I will openly admit I enjoy them, and I definitely gave Ubisoft my full money for them. Assassin's Creed. Oh, that's a bad one.
Yeah.
Oh god, yes.
I'll admit I played Black Flag, and I still think Black Flag is the best Assassin's Creed game.
I was about to say
That's
the one that everybody seems to say yes. Out of all of the recent Assassin's Creeds, the last 3 or 4, Black Flag is probably the one to get because it's the most polished and probably the best one out of the lot.
Yeah. Well, not just that. It freshened it up. It had the first legitimate new take on the Assassin's Creed series since the first one.
It was a stagnating.
It wasn't just getting bigger
series.
buildings with more side quests. It changed the status quo.
Arse Creed. I haven't played any Assassin's Creed, I think probably since the original, maybe the second one. And I'm just like, nope, that's burnt that series for me forever. So
the biggest problem is the original Assassin's Creed was a tech demo. It really fucking was. It was repeating the same objective 6 times in 3 different cities, doing the same repeated side quests. There was no actual content to it.
The bit that... It's been so long since I've played it, so my memory's starting to get a little bit hazy, but my abiding memory of Assassin's Creed is that it was the one where you're in... What was the city starting with A? No, Damascus. The one where you're in Damascus. I can't remember which Assassin's Creed it was. I think it was the second one, maybe?
I think it would have been either the second... No. The second was in Italy, I think. Italy or Rome, maybe?
Maybe it was the original
God
one.
knows.
I can't remember.
Yeah, the original one was definitely in the Damascus area.
Okay, so let's say it was the original one. So
yeah,
I was playing the game and I went, right, I want to quit out and go and do something else. So you're playing a guy who's getting the memories of some of his elders and going back in time or some shit like that. I can't even remember. So the way you had to quit out of the game was that you had to run your guy to one of the points where you could actually get the guy out of this Matrix-like headset that he was in. Walk the guy over to the guy once he got the guy in present time. Walk the guy over across the room or into another room to quit out of the area that he was in. Go back to the main menu, press quit game. It asks if you're sure you want to quit. You press yes, and then it quits to desktop. I'm like, that's like 5 steps to go through to quit to desktop. And there's like,
or you can Alt F4.
Alt F4 didn't work. I had to Control Delete Task Kill. That's what I ended up doing because it seriously took about 2 minutes to get back to the fucking desktop, and that is way too stupidly long. I mean, this is a game that was really, really made for console. And I went,
really was.
Nope, fuck this shit. This is the stupidest exit procedure I've ever had in a game. So therefore, I shall no longer play any of your stupid games. Ubisoft, you are dead to me. Fuck off.
The thing which sold Assassin's Creed 4 for me in that regard was that yes, you still had the person going inside a machine, and it was all supposedly genetic memories, etc.
Yes, yeah.
Except you were doing it to develop a game with a French-Canadian game development company. Ubisoft were breaking the fourth wall and parading the shit out of themselves
Ubisoft Montreal.
every single time you stepped out the machine. Yeah, It was brilliant. I loved it.
Yeah. It's just ever since then, every Ubisoft game that's come along and it's had a problem, I've been, yep, fucking Ubisoft. And since then, I think I've already played very many Ubisoft games. Yeah.
It is really hit and miss because they are such a big publisher and they put out so many fucking games.
Mm.
I mean, Zombie U for the Wii U, that was actually an Ubisoft game.
Mm.
I remember that because you had to sign up for their fucking Uplay store.
Oh, that was the other thing.
yeah.
Fucking Uplay service. Oh, fuck that shit with a hammer.
Uplay is better than Origins.
Oh, yeah.
I think Ubisoft have handled Uplay in quite a smart way. I like the fact that you can earn points to buy little bits of DLC, etc. And, they're cross-platform. I can play a game on my PC and then boot up my PS4, boot up the Uplay, and buy, things for a game on my PS4.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite a neat idea. I like that sort of tie between all their games, which works. But that may just be me buying into their brand consumerism.
I was going to say, you're a sheep. You're an Ubisoft sheep. Lempos says they did pretty well with Splinter Cell. Did Ubisoft make Splinter Cell? I remember I played the original.
Oh, Jesus Christ, they
reckon
did.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I played Splinter Cell.
I think I only ever played the first one.
I played Splinter Cell, Pandora Tomorrow, and I think Chaos Theory was the last one I played.
Sounds like James Bond films.
They really were. To be fair, that was back when Tom Clancy was actually involved with them.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so they were
Well,
a lot more realistic.
It was like when Rainbow Six Vegas was good and all that, and then they all sort of went downhill.
And Ghost Recon before it became fucking Graw.
Should we move on to our main topics? I don't know how we managed to get to this, but we have.
Sure, I need to stop buying things on the Steam.
That is the takeaway. The takeaway argument is that stop buying things on the Steam sale, or buy things on the Steam sale. Who cares?
I've realised that I've been complaining about the Steam sale, but I've actually bought quite a few games now. Look at it this week.
Ooh, fucking hypocrite, Keegz.
Yeah, I am. I bought Black Mesa.
To be fair, when you look at it, if you could buy, say, 10 games for, $20 or whatever because of their reduced price, you're gonna get your money's back somewhere in there.
That's what started it. They sold me because I bought a Star Wars Jedi Knight pack for like $6, and it's got like Star Wars Jedi Academy and Dark Forces and all the old ones I used to play. So
yes, I have the exact same pack.
Yeah, they hit me with nostalgia. I'm like, no, I need that.
It's one of the few sets of games that I can play on my fucking laptop without having to worry about that.
I started up Dark Forces and it started up DOSBox and like, oh god, I don't remember how old this game is.
Oh my god. Okay. I think the last Star Wars game I played was probably KOTOR.
Yeah.
KOTOR is pretty.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
I never got into that. Star Wars Jedi Academy, I played to death when I was young. When you could actually use a lightsaber and run around killing people, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sadly, none of that is now canon.
Yes, it's all been retconned. There's a new canon now.
I will stop myself here because I'm a massive Star Wars fan and I could talk about it for an hour, but I won't.
We don't have an out. Well, we do, but we don't. Okay, GOG Greenlight. GOG. Doesn't GOG stand for Good Old Games?
It does. I believe they have actually changed the trademark to just GOG now.
Yeah, but I mean, its original idea was that they had all the old games running in DOSBox or some sort of interface where you can actually play them.
Was originally designed to update and actually make the older games playable.
Yeah.
But
so GOG Greenlight seems like
beyond that now.
Seems like a kind of, I don't know. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You can't have Greenlight for old games. It doesn't work that way. But I guess GOG has sort of grown outside its own.
GOG has really grown, and I think it's trying to become
GMG.
the Linux of digital games retailers, because it's sort of like I can take for example, they released this thing where I can take my codes for Stalker, Shadow of Chernobyl, and Call of Pripyat, all of that sort of series, and I can type in my Steam key codes over in GOG, and they will give me the game. DRM-free, able to sort of, install it on any computer I want. And they're doing that for more games, where if you have a game on Steam or any of the other ones, if you can provide that key and it matches their records, they will give you that game on GOG in your library for free.
Where do these records come from?
I
Developer,
have no
I
idea.
guess.
Yeah.
That's the only way I could see it
probably come
working,
from
is
the
if the
developer.
developer has a record of all the keys it's sold.
Oh, they'd have to, especially if it was on Steam.
But why would the developers have it? Surely Steam would handle all that for you? I don't know if the developers would have access to that.
No, they do, because the publishers would, not so much the developers, the publishers, because some keys are tagged for things like review copies or for promotional sale or stuff like that.
I guess so.
So
makes sense.
they would know exactly how many they've sold, so they know where they're at and how many they've released.
That makes sense. So presumably
They're also country coded and stuff as well. So
yeah, okay.
Yeah. As Lempos pointed out, they did move over to indie games quite a while ago. But even though saying that, Witcher was really big on GOG for a while. They had a really good relationship with the Witcher team.
They had a promotion with them, didn't they? For the new
for the
new interface
time,
or whatever.
They had a lot of Witcher stuff on there.
CD Projekt
was it GOG or that they, because they packaged it as like it was the cheapest you could buy it if you bought it with GOG.
I'm pretty
with
sure
their
it
new
was
system.
GOG. I think didn't they even give out like free copies of The Witcher 2 or something at one point? I think I've got that in my GOG library.
It was either GOG or GM or Green Man Gaming. I'm pretty sure it was.
No, it was definitely GOG. It was definitely GOG that had the relationship with Witcher.
Yeah.
I think we actually may have reported on this quite a few months back. Keegz.
Yeah, we did, but when The Witcher was just coming in, Witcher 3 was just coming out, we talked about their new interface and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, now they're starting their own early access sort of thing, which is, seems better than, I wouldn't say better than Steam's, but it seems more organized than Steam's anyway.
Lempos just pointed out in chat that they get the algorithm for key generating. That's how they know the keys are correct. And B, CD Projekt Red, who developed The Witcher, and GOG are owned by the same company.
Oh, there you go. That's probably why then.
We're going to get Lempos
Thank you,
on
Lempos.
the podcast next week.
Yeah. Lampos is also very well informed.
They have a rolling array of guest podcasters who know a hell of a lot more than we do. We're just here to provide colour commentary. So, yeah, one of the interesting things I found about this was that, it's going to be curated, so all the games are going to be handpicked. It offers a 14-day, no questions asked refund policy, and it has this rollback feature where if as the development is ongoing, if an update breaks something or it changes something you don't like, you can actually go back and play a previous version of the game. So if they did an update which broke your save or something like that, you can actually go back to a snapshot of where it was last week or whenever they, before they did the change, and play that version instead, and just go, well, I'll wait until they bring out the new version that works, or one that fixes the problem that I've got. I thought that was an interesting.
I like that. It's a good idea.
It was a good idea. I didn't think it was probably technical. I mean, I knew it was technically possible, but I didn't think it was, on a wide scale, technically possible. So it's interesting that they brought out that feature.
I mean, it's something which exists. I mean, I know you can do version rollbacks in Dropbox for your own personal files.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really see any reason why it would be harder to do that online. I mean, you're still just basically accessing a cloud server and downloading data from it.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, you can do it to some respect on Steam when they offer it to you. Like, you can sort of right-click on certain games and change it to beta or...
yes.
I know Operation Zomboid had that option where they had a sort of a newer version, but it was a bit unstable, or you could just use the stable version.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's obviously possible. And, like I said, you just download it. You just download whatever version you want to run, really.
Yeah. And I mean, the fact that it will be hand-picked games, although I'll be honest, I was looking through their hand-picked games for the first wave, which is, for those listening, Starbound, Ashes of the Singularity, Project Zomboid, Terratech, and The Curious Exhibition. Now, all these games have been around for quite a while, you know.
Yeah.
They're already well-known games, and they're already on Steam Early Access. Now, while it's awesome, the choice of games for the first one seems like they're playing it a bit safe.
Yeah.
There's nothing really on there which surprises me, and honestly, looking at those, I'm thinking, do they really need your help?
Yeah.
You know, I'm looking at those and I'm thinking most of those are already well established. I mean,
There's
I know
not
Project
really
Zomboid was
early
going
access
before
anymore.
even Steam Greenlight was going.
We played Project Zomboid. I made a bloody video out of it, as I recall.
Yeah.
Where I stabbed I stabbed a zombie in the face with a knife and a fork.
Good times. Good times.
Good times.
I remember back in the early days of Project Zomboid when they had the demo, and I accidentally smothered the character's wife with a pillow.
I managed to catch myself on fire, then run around and managed to catch everyone else on fire.
Everybody else.
That was
yeah.
that was
I
a
remember
fun
that.
ending to that particular playthrough. Yeah, so I think it's. I mean, I don't use GOG, but I like. To be honest, Steam needs a worthy competitor. Origin, I don't think is really there. I think GOG might be.
Origin is controlled by EA.
Yes.
I don't think any. Valve is the exception because Valve is the first, but you will never really see a digital retailer controlled by a big publisher because none of the other publishers will go with them. And to be honest, what's the last game Valve actually released?
I'm gonna say Portal 2, but there's probably something released since then.
Dota 2.
Wasn't it?
Yeah,
Was
okay.
As far as I'm aware, Dota 2 was the last game that Valve really
That makes
released.
sense, yeah. However, it is coincidentally
was that Valve published though? It wasn't Valve published though, was it? That's not right. No, that's LOL. What am I thinking of?
You're thinking League of Legends, yeah.
Dota 2 is Valve published after years in development hell, basically.
Oh, that's right. It was originally a mod.
It was originally
The
a
original.
mod for Warcraft 3, Frozen Throne.
Yeah.
And basically when they took it over and it became Dota 2 and Ice Frog, I think the main developer's name is, took it away from Blizzard. They had to change, of course, all the licensed characters, etc., which then became Heroes of the Storm over in Blizzard. That's basically what their copy of Dota 2 turned into.
Lempors guessed incorrectly, as I did. He said Portal 2.
I'm not sure if that's an incorrect guess or whether he just Googled that and Portal 2 is the last game.
Well, I don't think it's a coincidence that
we will see
that Dota 2 is the last game that Steam that Valve released, and it's also the most popular game on Steam, and by a large margin. So
that's Dota 2.
It's the sort of thing of where, you know, Valve has largely stopped publishing games right now. I mean, there aren't even rumblings about any games in development at Valve right now.
But Valve are like that. Like you don't hear anything about them for ages, then all of a sudden, bang! There's a brand new game, and it's the best thing ever. You know, that's how Half-Life 2 came about. Half-Life 1 for that matter.
Well, the Orange Box, which gave us, you know, Team Fortress 2, Portal, all of that. Which, you know, was in many ways a sleeper hit. The Orange Box sold so much because Portal was on there. But sort of, because Valve have taken that step back from game development, they're sort of one of the few people in a right position to be a successful digital distributor. Because they, you know, the other publishers aren't going to feel threatened by them.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing with GOG, where they're not actively publishing their own games. They're just sort of, you know, updating and developing the older games. That will give them an advantage.
Will it give them enough of an advantage? I mean, I can't see this being a Steam killer or even a Steam contender.
I don't think they're really trying to be a Steam contender, though. Yes, they're developing a new angle and they're bringing in some AAA games, etc. But they're still trying to focus on being indie, on supporting the smaller developers, and also updating the older games, the good old games, as they originally stated. They haven't lost sight of their original mission goal.
I think if they became even in the same ballpark as Steam, a lot of that would fall by the wayside, though, in the pursuit of making money.
Well, also, I think that's what part of GOG Galaxy is. Galaxy is basically their version of the Steam library, basically. You download it to your computer, it keeps a record of all the games. It's still a bit janky in terms of actually downloading and playing them. You still have to end up going to the website more often than not.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but it's sort of, it's supposed to be their version of the Steam library, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I can't see Origin. I mean, Origin is probably the closest thing that Steam has to actual contender, but it's run by EA, one of the most dickish game companies on the face of the planet.
What games are on Origin right now?
There's quite a few.
There's quite a lot.
Most of them, they're older ones now. Yeah. But because they stay within their own company though, compared to Steam.
They have other stuff as well.
Nah, everything's EA published.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they've got a lot of games under their belt though.
Yeah, to be fair, EA has a hell of a lot of games.
Let me Google that for you.
Because I think the most recent one that the EA people are hyped for is the newest Mirror's Edge. I believe that's coming out soon.
Mirror's Edge.
The other thing I
like
like about Origin is they give you free games every now and then. I mean, they're old games. I mean, I think I got Theme Hospital. I got the original Mirror's Edge, and I got something else that I can't remember now. It's like Sims 2 or something.
Installed Origin for SimCity, and then we had the SimCity debacle, and I actually don't think I have Origin installed now. Oh no, I do. Origin desktop app. Here it is. Here it is. I probably like a bazillion updates to do because I haven't fired up in 2 years. Let's see what's on there. Oh, yep.
Last time I used it was to play Battlefront, but I played that for maybe a week and then got bored of it.
Well, when I bought SimCity, after all the fuck around with that, they actually gave me, I think, 2 free games, and I ended up playing, I think, Mass Effect multiplayer with my friends more than I did SimCity, so because I couldn't get SimCity to work.
My dislike for Origin is such that I would rather play Star Wars Battlefront on the PS4 than deal with Origin on my PC.
Yep.
I
Really?
literally do not want Origin ever touching my computer.
I've had no issues with Origin whatsoever. It's just that their games, I mean, because I was a huge fan of the Battlefield series until Battlefield 4 and it all fucked over. Then, I was excited for Battlefront and, like I said, played that for about a week and got sort of bored of it. But as a consumer like support program, they're actually pretty good, especially support. Like if you put a support ticket in, they're pretty quick about it.
Yeah, I
Whereas
think that's
Steam, they'll probably never get back to you.
Well, that's the thing with Steam is that they don't have to, and they'll still make bazillions of dollars. Whereas EA and Origin are trying to differentiate themselves, going, "Oh no, we answer all our tickets, and we're always got really good customer service." Well, I think if Steam had really good customer service, then they probably wouldn't put such a high premium on it.
It does also tie into the fact that Origin is just servicing their own games.
Yeah.
All they have done in terms of Origin support is consolidated all those separate games support lines into one Origin support line. So I bet you they didn't even change the office. It's just they changed the greeting.
But you have cold.
Yeah.
Just a piece of paper taped over the word in front of supports. Now it's just Origin support instead of game support.
Yeah,
these are all.
But that,
EA
like,
games.
if Steam was going to if Steam is going to be supportive, then they probably should have put some sort of system in place like that where they could deal with the tickets and send directly to either the developers or publishers or whoever's going to look after that side of the support. But Steam are just so lacking with support when it comes to like bugs and stuff. When it comes to refunds, they're pretty quick. I'll give them that. Refunds are fine. But anything else, anything that's actual legitimate a support problem with the game, they're just hopeless. You're better off emailing the actual developer. But yeah.
Well, I mean, that we could argue, or not argue, but we could discuss the shortcomings of Steam support till the fucking cows come home. Because I don't think anyone here is going to say, "Oh no, Steam support's not that bad," or "Oh, they couldn't. I don't think they could do any better than they currently are." No, Steam could do a fuckload better than they currently are, and Valve have really dropped the ball, and there's no excuse. But getting back to GOG, what do you think about? I don't know. Having a company that made its roots in not producing but distributing old games, having a greenlight section, it just doesn't gel for me. I don't like it.
Just more indie games.
Yeah. What GOG actually did when they were producing and sort of releasing these games, they released an article on it some time ago going into the detail. It makes sense for me that they then go into helping indie developers publish their games, because it's a very similar thing. They find an old forgotten game, they have to track down the licenses for it, which are often by people who don't even know they own the licenses for it.
Yes.
They then have to get that original game, which can often be, completely lost to time. They could only have an actual game disc, not even the source development kit for it.
Yeah.
So they then have to make it work on modern systems, on all OSs sort of thing, and then they can finally release it again once they have tracked down all that stuff. So they must have a lot of knowledge, which will be of tremendous use to an indie developer. Like, honestly, I can see them helping more with the production side of it, literally being publishing aids more than, actual game development aids.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there money in that for them? I mean, helping, tracking down all this shit, but I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. I don't have anything more to add.
I think, good for them for trying. We'll see how it goes. I mean, any competition is good competition.
I guess my point is, can they make that into a viable business practice? Practice on a industrial, worldwide scale. I think it remains.
I think in indie games they could do, because Steam is kind of lacking in that. Is that people don't look for indie games on Steam; they look for sort of.
You think so?
I mean,
Steam Greenlight has become such a shit show. People would just be glad to have an alternative.
Yeah, it's the Steam Greenlight is the shovelware dumping ground, really.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem is. Hold on, I'm just trying to find the article again here. So 5 games as sort of the first wave of games which will be accessible.
Yeah.
If you call that an average in terms of games being released, I don't know if they're going to release them in waves, whether it will just be procedural, where they'll just trickle, 1 or 2 out a month or as they come sort of thing. It's going to be a lot slower process, and you will have a much smaller pool of games.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think that will backfire onto the developers in terms of, I will be curious to see what happens when GOG tries to approach people, or whether people will start approaching GOG, because that's when it will become really murky. Because, let's be honest, developers will lie. That has happened so many times in the past.
Lie in what respect, though? About what? What are they lying about?
Well, if GOG is the one choosing which games to pick up and to publish, you will start selling your game to GOG instead of to the people.
Oh, you're thinking in terms of the quality of the title in question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, GOG can always just say no. I mean, it's like, no, we don't think your title's up to snuff. Come back in 6 months, or when you've done some.
Well, that's
serious
another
work
case
on
to lie. You know, how far would people go to get that initial contract in? Because once the contract's in, it's in.
But early
Yeah.
access, I'm presuming you're going to have a playable demo or playable, portion of your game, and that can be play tested. And people at GOG can go, well, this is pretty shit. I think we should probably, not blacklist, but say no to this.
I think they need to add sort of like a 3-strike system or something to these sort of things. Like that the company or the developers should be setting themselves goals that are reasonable and saying rough dates even exact dates of when they plan to meet these goals. And if they can't do it 3 times, then they should have to scrap out of
You miss
whatever,
3 updates, you get everyone gets their
yeah,
money
that's
back.
right. If you're missing your own goal 3 times, then you're obviously not ready to pursue this project.
Mm.
Yeah. And I mean it also, ultimately, I would like more clarity from GOG in what makes them pick a game.
Yeah.
A bit more transparency.
Just saying, oh, it's okay, it won't be anyone can come in, we'll be choosing them. That's great, but what are you actually looking for?
Yes,
what
what are your
expect from
criteria?
your service?
Yeah, because clearly, as we've seen in Steam Greenlight, the community cannot pick games for shit because they'll just greenlight anything. Well, they'll greenlight anything that has been promoted well enough rather than actually shown.
Lempos, is it possibly Digital Homicide, that one publisher that you were talking about?
Oh yeah, Digital Homicide.
what's he
Everybody loves
talking
Digital Homicide.
Fun
Release
fact,
100 games a year. Yeah.
They recently released a game which wasn't that bad. It actually had a state of playability.
That's about the
No way.
nicest thing
What?
anyone's ever said about Digital Homicide. Digital Homicide, not that bad.
They had a game that wasn't bad.
It was playable. You could boot it up. Things happened.
Yeah.
What's the name of that one publisher that just realised hundreds of games a year?
Yeah, it's Digital Homicide
Did
because
they
they
make hundreds
rename
of
themselves
games a
all the
year?
times. Yeah, they well, not hundreds, but they made a lot of games.
All right. I thought they made
And
that
they-
one game and then pretty much went under.
Yep. They're
I don't
also
know,
offering free. They're offering free keys to other games if you greenlit certain games.
That's
and just all sorts of
right.
dodgy stuff. Yeah.
They also basically had puppet companies releasing their games and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
so
Yeah, it's
many
all a big
shady
mess.
practices.
It's like how
Absolute mess.
much shovelware can we pawn off on people before they they crack
How
on?
could you even support
Well-
that many games?
Well, they
If
obviously
you
didn't.
ever want a truly horrifying experience, listen to Jim Sterling's interview with them.
Oh
yeah,
yes, that was cringeworthy.
that was cringe.
Yeah, it was all
It was
cringe.
so cringeworthy, but it's also, it says so much about the developers.
Yes,
It says so much about.
it said a
them
lot
in
about that
terms
guy's
of-
mental state at the time.
Yeah.
It was really good. I actually really enjoyed listening to it. It was just this guy trying to catch out Jim and with his sort of far-fetched ideas and Jim wasn't having any of it. It was good
It
listening.
really wasn't.
Mm.
Yeah, so GOG Greenlight or GOG Early Access. Are we calling it Greenlight or Early Access?
Early access,
It
I
is
reckon.
games in development.
GOG GID. GOG
GOG.
GID. GOGID.
Done got gid.
GOG GID. So yeah, okay. Well, I don't know when is this gonna happen? Is there a date on this? I didn't see it.
It's already happened.
Oh my god.
It's happening right
already
now as
upon
we
us.
speak.
They launched it as they announced it, basically.
Oh my god. On January the 29th,
Monkeys
which was
are-
about a week ago, a bit more than a week ago.
Developer monkeys are smashing away on their keyboards as we speak.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, let's move on to the final topic of the evening. Are we all ready?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Man, SimAnt devs spend all their budget on adult entertainment in big inverted commas.
Hookers and blow.
Hookers and blow. So, who wants to lead off with this story?
This one's all yours, Keegz.
I actually saw this before it became news because I've been following this guy on YouTube, watching his videos, and he put up his video explaining everything that was going on. Apparently, the Kickstarter money and the investment money has trickled away into strippers and booze and restaurants and all that sort of stuff, which they claim were part of business deals. And apparently they're out of money, so they've had to cancel the project.
So the developer was a single guy, Eric Tereshinsky. And I think he partnered with a couple of other guys, Tyler Monson, Devin Staley or Staley. And they performed. And they created a company which was going to create SimAnt, and I think it was it a Kickstarter? It was a Kickstarter.
Yeah, it was. There was a certain amount of Kickstarter.
There was funding or backing on their website for SimAnt. The Kickstarter was actually for his game dev tutorials, the ultimate game dev tutorial thing, which was a separate series he did on YouTube.
Oh, right. Interesting.
And I apologize, my doorbell is ringing. I will be right back.
We'll be here.
Okay. But yeah. So he's had to cancel the project. He did a very, very upsetting video about it, and claimed that he's under the contract that he signed. He has to delete all of his videos and remove all. He can't continue to work on it. If he tries to release it, they're going to sue him and yada yada yada. Basically, he's screwed. And so that happened. However, a few days later, the other
two guys
released,
Tyler Monson, Devin Staley.
Yeah, released their statement claiming that it was all bullshit and that Eric himself was the one that has slowly depleted the project and decided to not continue, and this is just his way out of it, apparently.
Yeah, it sounds like he wanted to sort of cut them out. It sounds like he'd done a lot of work on it, and it was starting to gather momentum, and he wanted to cut these other two guys out. It doesn't make much sense. It's like, how can you cut this guy out from a legal standpoint? I mean, the guys Tyler and Devin said that he sort of blocked them from accessing the bank accounts. He locked them out of the social media accounts. He changed all of the the passwords for all of their all their equipment and what have you. But I mean, it's not like you can keep going and create a SimAnt game once you've done that. So
yeah, I mean, because Eric is the founder of the company, because it's Keegz or whatever. Like it's his name. So him having the access to the bank accounts and everything sort of sounds right, depending on how they set up the company. But it's just weird that he would make up this elaborate story to basically stop making this game that he spent so long on.
And I'm back.
Welcome back. So
it's a very weird story. Like I don't really understand.
There's just not enough information at the moment. I think it's one of these things going to sort itself out in the next couple of weeks. We'll be able to report on the next podcast.
I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle between these two stories.
I think it's a falling out to me. Like
it sounds like a
falling out between each other.
I'm not necessarily sure if it is a falling out or if it's something larger on the part of the guy who's claiming Eric, I think his name was.
Yeah, he's the main dude. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's something like whether we're looking at a Phil Fish breakdown here.
Yes.
Something along those lines, because honestly, those accusations should be pretty easy to prove, which Monson and Staley have called out. And in terms of legal action, Monson and Staley are the ones pursuing it. I mean, Tereshinsky said, oh, sure, they're only contractors, etc. You could still easily get them on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
That's why the justice system is in place, even though in America, God knows how much justice is actually served.
Yeah. I mean, like the if this is all, if he was in the wrong here, then he, as I think they said in the other thing, then he could take that to their tax department or whatever and say, can we look through these books to see where the money's going? And if they have put it all into, drinking and whatever, using all this money on the in company time for no actual reason, then he could take them to court for it. He can prove it.
The interesting thing is that he didn't take legal action. He didn't make a big press announcement. He immediately threw them under the bus.
Yes.
And I think that is the most damning thing, because no matter what these two guys do now, their reputations are ruined. Even if they turn out to be right, people will still blame them.
Yeah.
He has effectively victimized himself and meant that no matter what, he's won this. And that's why I don't trust him as much with his report.
I don't trust him. Like, even when the video broke and I was reading it and I was looking at all the comments, and there were people that obviously had far more legal information and knew more about the legal side than what he did and what I did, and they were trying to give him advice about this, saying, look, you're not screwed here, you can do something about it. But all of his replies were always like, no, it was all caught up in the agreement, I can't talk about the contract, but it's all been written up in the contract. I'm like, they couldn't have covered that sort of thing without, surely, I don't think he's telling the truth.
No, I really don't.
The more I look into it, the more I think, it sounds like someone who's mismanaged the money and is trying to get out of it, looking like a good guy.
Also, a lot of his other statements about him being the core programmer, I'm making quotation marks there, the core programmer, doesn't add up, because there's been several points on their own Twitter account where he's talked about coding and programming with other people involved.
Yeah.
Which backs up their statements of there was at least 10 contractors involved in the game's development, which also makes sense because it was looking to be quite a large game.
Yeah.
And so, I think this is just the poor guy having a really bad reaction, panicking, and unfortunately making a very, very stupid choice here, which is not going to play out well for him.
No. It made for a good headline, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was an amazing headline. The press loved it, and I think he knew that they would love it. That's what he was hoping for, the knee-jerk journalism which happened, where you had, so many of the major press agencies jumping on this, splashing it up immediately, because who doesn't love game cancelled after money wasted on booze and strippers? Yeah,
it's kind of the perfect crime, wasn't it?
Yeah. And the interesting thing is, these the actual article or blog which originally approached the other two guys wasn't any of the big ones. It wasn't Kotaku. It wasn't Rock Paper Shotgun. It wasn't any of those. It was a small little sort of independent blog which actually thought, hold on, maybe we should get the other side of the story first.
Yeah.
Before we just stick this up on our front page. Which is just as damning to the gaming journalism as anything else.
Yeah, everybody sort of jumped on his side straight away, didn't they?
Well, that's all the dollar
that's
signs.
just how the internet reacts, though.
It's the clickbaitiest of titles that will generate all the ad revenue. So
very strange story, though.
It was also like you could have worded it so much better, which still would have, got you the clickbait. They just didn't care.
No.
No. An interesting thing I found on a link, which I can put into the comments if you like, is Chris Roberts, lead developer of Star Citizen, actually commented and said he was interested in utilizing the Ant Simulator for space pets, which are one of the potential backings in the Star Citizen Kickstarter.
Yeah, right.
And sort of the whole idea of using ants in some of the combat fighting sections in like some weird sort of space pets thing where you are riding on the back of a giant ant in space or God knows what.
I could see them using the like some of the coding to apply to pets in some way, but God,
well, it's probably in the same engine, I assume.
Well, it could be, but
Well, possibly, but yeah, it's just this thing of out of nowhere. I was just scrolling through the comments, getting some opinions, and suddenly there is Chris Roberts from Star Citizen saying, "Well, if you're still interested in developing this type of stuff, give me a call." So
I don't think I'd want to be part of that.
No, but it actually got me thinking, sort of like, okay, what were this guy's other options? He could have come clean and been a lot less dramatic about it. You know, he could have said, "Look, I'm having financial difficulties. I'll be pursuing legal action, but I can't talk about it right now. Here's a Kickstarter. I will send out an email to to the backers already." Because it had a lot of interest. This game was pretty hyped. He easily could have gotten some more money for it.
We talked about this.
Instead, he decided
a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of months ago, I think, didn't we? Didn't we cover SimAnt?
Yeah, I started following it. I don't know if we actually covered it, but I remember looking at it and seeing it and going, "Oh, that looks alright." And then I sort of followed him on YouTube, and then this whole thing happened. I'm like, "Oh,
okay."
well."
Anyway, sorry.
And it's not even him taking his ball and going home. It's him pulling out a switch knife, stabbing the ball multiple times, and then setting it on fire. There's no way that Ant Simulator is ever going to be around.
It makes me wonder whether this was like one of those cases where he was definitely more developer than businessman, and he's just sort of gone through the money quicker than he expected to or whatever. And maybe even his business partners were the business types that were trying to stop this, and this has just ended up in
that even matches
what has
what
now
he's
become.
Saying. He's saying, "Oh, I got screwed over by business people," or "You didn't listen to the business people because you shut them out."
I suspect what we're going to find out in the next couple of weeks is what's going to happen. What we're going to find out is that both sides of the story are correct, but they're not correct in the way that they've been portrayed. What will happen is that the what's his name, Devon Staley and Tyler Bonds have been going out like schmoozing business partners to relatively expensive lunches, trying to drum up more money, probably didn't get it, and have spent a proportion of their budget. But we're also going to find out that Eric Doroszewski has spent all the money on trying to get his game out in time. Has something of a mental breakdown or some sort of mental issue where he's gone, "Oh fuck, we've run out of money. What the fuck am I going to do? The only thing I can do is try and blame it all on them. So at least I can possibly work in the industry for some other company at some point in the future, or at least get another Kickstarter started." And we're going to fall somewhere in the grey area in between the white and the black of the two sides.
What I don't get out of this is that on his video he was claiming that those video things, the tutorials, were also part of the contract. He had to take them all down. That seems a bit far-fetched to me. I mean, that's still your IP, even if it's part of the contract. So why should he have to take them down?
Which was kickstarted under a completely different backing that had nothing to do with Ant Simulator.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can't imagine
it was based off Ant Simulator because that's the game he was developing, but
I can't imagine that was in the contract when they started this whole company, and then he's done a Kickstarter for these videos. It just seems a bit...
Even if it was or wasn't, why take it down anyway?
Yeah, he shouldn't have to.
I mean, what was from his perspective? What was the plus in taking them down?
Well, he was saying that it was part of the contract that he couldn't keep them up because they weren't his property anymore because he was leaving.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's also the weird thing.
That.
If they were contractors to the company, doesn't that make him the only shareholder in the company? So him leaving pretty much dissolves the company.
I don't think.
Well, yeah.
The two guys, Devon and Tyler, I don't think they were contractors. They were, not backers. They were partners essentially, but business partners. They weren't doing any of the game development stuff. Whereas he was the actual core coder. And I don't know, he probably didn't hire the contractors who actually did the grunt work of the game, but yeah, I think he was the main.
It says it says, well, here it says that he partnered with a couple of other guys, Tyler and Devin, and they together they formed Tiski, the company. So they probably, I'm assuming that they're partners, but still, it seems a really strange thing to have written into a contract that, you know, these videos are now our property. But anyway,
it's one of the other things which is actually followed up. He did a second interview with Polygon as well on the 1st of February, where he goes into some more detail about it. There was talk of a PlayStation 4 SDK, software development kit.
oh, DDC, yeah.
Yeah. He claims that they were deceptive and they lied to him about it. They claim that they had everything set up to go, except he couldn't provide them a workable demo on time, which was one of Sony's requests. Which, to me, sounds a lot more likely than them lying about it. Because,
yeah, I mean, why would they lie about it?
You know, it's the sort of thing of, we're asking you for a playable demo. It doesn't have to be much, but that's just what we like. And apparently they also pressured him into selling the beta early, is another one of his claims.
Sell it to what? I mean, that might also be true because they probably needed money.
Yeah. But it's the sort of thing of, again, there's just so much grey in this that I don't think we're really going to know what happens. And in some ways, if this does get settled in court, I think it'll actually end up being settled out of court, and we'll never really know what happens.
Yeah, and that's going to be frustrating. I'll never sleep again.
One of the things that surprised me is these two business partners, and I use that term with a grain of salt, is that when Eric posted all this stuff saying, you know, they've been going to restaurants and seeing strippers and stuff, their response was, it's 100% bullshit. That was their official response. I'm like, is this the response of a, you know, reliable business partner?
Business people. Well, they're probably pissed off. I would be too.
They also go on to do actually say a lot of, you know.
They did a lot of things, but that was the headline. I mean, why? I've had a lot of dealings with people who invest in
journalism.
Well,
because they have to try and compete with the hookers and fucking drinks, so they're going to have to say something just as satisfying to get their story even heard.
Yeah.
Word summary that's going to get in the headlines. That's 100% bullshit. Sums it up perfectly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I guess that makes sense. I mean, it's finding shit flinging with more shit flinging, which it goes against my moral compass. But yeah,
they've kind of been dragged into that.
That's true.
Now, though.
Yeah.
Especially if you know, someone who they considered their friend suddenly turned them round, and I wouldn't be surprised if these guys are already getting hate mail and death threats. I'll be honest. You know, the amount of backlash from this is huge already before they even had a chance to defend themselves. So yeah, I'd be feeling pretty offended and quite put out by this.
And considering the amount of time it took them to do a rebuttal, I assume that they were not ready for his announcement.
No,
like,
it
he
definitely
just did
seems
this
to have
out
come
of the blue.
left field for them.
Yeah. He's probably just gone home from work on a Friday and said, "See you Monday, guys," and then made this video.
Here's the thing. Montz, one of the two, alleged Terashinki transferred studio funds to his personal account. That is a very serious accusation, because if these guys are the shrewd, shady business dealers, they know that will be traceable.
Yes, exactly.
And that's theft. That's straight up theft.
If these are supposed to be the bastards that he's trying to set them up to be, they wouldn't make statements like that. Because that's going to be something that can easily be proven.
Yes, and proving...
if he then claims that he did it to protect the money, that happened months ago. So why didn't he come out about it then?
Exactly. And it's a lot harder to prove that you spent money on, you know, strippers and beer than transferring money to your own account, which is easily traceable.
Oh, God. Guys, we're going to have to go back and start again. Vince even just showed up, so we have to start again.
Okay.
Good
rewind.
evening, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Keegz, and welcome to podcast number 37 on the 8th of the 2nd, 2016. Welcome, Vince.
Hello.
The other thing that surprised me about this particular article was that Monson and Staley, the two investor guys, invested a combined total of $5,000. $5,000. I'm like, $5,000 would maybe last me. That's a month, maybe two, and I'm not even producing a game. This is just household budget stuff. It's like
That's probably enough for them to get the engine, like the license to use the engine. That's probably all it was, really.
Maybe, yeah.
It's also, to be fair, for the longest time, they were working out of their own houses and the one guy's mum's basement. We are literally talking, shed level productions here. It's not as if these guys had their own office. It was literally their mum's basement.
Yeah. There's a lot of
And it's
murkiness
sort of-
in this story, isn't there?
Oh, yeah, it's
There is so
it's a
much
deep
shady
shithole.
dealings.
We're gonna be getting value out of this for months to come, aren't we?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I get the
This
feeling there's
could
gonna be a
all
lot
go
of
really
backwards.
quiet, and they deal with it.
Yeah, maybe. If it goes to court, then
Oh,
we
also-
probably won't hear much about it. But yeah,
The one thing which did come to my mind, yes, okay, they're a small company. They shouldn't be having dinners in bars and restaurants. But then they're openly talking about having deals and meetings with Sony.
well,
That
they
is
have a
justifiable
did
excuse
they
for
actually
meeting in
have a
bar and
deal
restaurant.
with Sony, or because from what I read, they went to the
We-
Sony booth at what was it, CES or whatever it was,
EDC.
EDC, and said, "Oh, how do we go about getting a press kit or whatever it is that they were asking for?" And that was pretty much as far as it went.
SDK.
Or an SDK, yeah. I don't think there was actually any real deals going with
Well-
Sony.
Well, here's the thing. I'm actually looking at the article now. GDC in March 2015. The duo visited the Sony development booth and got information on what they needed to secure a development kit. This supposedly includes a static IP address and a dedicated internet line. So they spent $1,000 straight there getting it set up.
Why did it cost $1,000?
So that's a good
Okay.
reason to move into the basement in the office. The pair says the pieces were in place to move forward with Sony. That implies to me that they had to get back in touch. And there probably would have been some sort of business dealings happening there to prove that they were telling the truth, if that makes sense.
Mm.
So weird. You have to have a direct internet line. Like, what do you have to be constantly up to their cloud or something? Is that?
I'm guessing there's
It
a
wouldn't surprise me if you would.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't develop games for a living, so I don't know. But it does sound like a slightly weird thing to have. I mean, why do you need a static IP of all things? I mean, most businesses would have one anyway, so it's not such a big deal. But yeah, at the same time, also, did they not have an internet connection already? Getting a static IP does not cost them very much more on top of a dedicated internet connection. I don't know why it cost them
It depends on the
$1,000.
quality of the line, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah, there's a lot
I
of
mean, let's be honest. If you were trying to get a decent internet connection set up in Australia, you'd easily be looking at $1,000. to
Well,
run
it
a basic thing
depends.
and
You can
make
get
it
a second
easy.
phone line put on for $175. New modem costs you $40. Static IP and internet line for, let's say, 6 months is only going to cost you $400 or $500. You're still struggling to make $1,000, and this is $1,000 US, mind you. So it's you're talking $1,700 Australian. It's not that expensive. I used to set up ADSL connections for a living. It's not very expensive at all. But I'm guessing there's a lot. I mean, the problem is that this story is big for the questions that are unanswered as much as there are as the headlines.
Oh, God, yeah.
So I guess we sit here and speculate.
The PS4 dev kit costs $2,500, apparently.
Oh wow, not a lot for a
Although apparently a lot of indie developers are getting them for free. Sony was really encouraging indie developers to work with their platform.
That's nice. Good guy, Sony.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well-
I had heard that actually.
Well, what to do? Okay. So I think we're probably going to know a lot more about this in the coming weeks than we can say today. Yeah,
It's all speculation at the moment. We
It
sort of
kind
just
of
have to
is.
wait for it to blossom.
there's a lot of he said, she said, and not a lot of evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting though. I like it. It's juicy. I like juicy.
Keegz likes the juicy tidbits. Well, who wants to ask us some questions? Time for Q&A. If you've got any questions,
I need
hit
to
him.
pee. I'll be back.
Okay. If you've got any questions, hit us up in the comments, and we shall do our very best to answer them. Kitsune, what have you been playing this week, or this last 2 weeks, or recently?
Recently, I'm just looking up at my Steam library right
Yeah,
now.
I'm
to see
doing
what
the same
recently
thing.
I've played a fair amount of Rocket League recently. Been getting back into that. Played a few games with you,
Yes, you have.
and sort of just one of the advantages is, just so people in the chat know, I recently moved from Australia to the UK, and during that process, I finally got access to a decent gaming computer again.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been picking up on a lot of old games, or not necessarily old games, but not too recent games, which I just haven't had a chance to play in the last few months.
Mm-hmm.
So Rocket League was one of the big ones. South Park: The Stick of Truth, I blazed through that and completed it in about 3 or 4 days of on-off again playing.
Yep.
Been playing a lot of Guild of Dungeoneering, actually.
That's the procedural,
Um,
not procedurally generated, but the dungeon where you lay down tiles and direct your little guy where to go.
Yes, it is, and
Yes.
the card-based one.
Yes.
It is really fun. I really quite like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's unique art style, and sort of it's really quite easy to get into and enjoy. Other games, I've been mucking around with Hitman Absolution. I will say I don't like it. I'm probably going to drop it.
Oh.
I'm just not dedicated enough to it to finish it. I liked the older Hitman games. I loved Silent Assassin. I spent so many times on it back in the days of PlayStation 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I just can't get into Hitman Absolution.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why. The big one, which is probably going to take up the rest of my life, is I've just bought Fallout 4 in the Steam sale that's currently going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I played about 6 hours of it until about 4 a.m. yesterday. And then I had to go to sleep because I knew I'd have to be up at 6 a.m. to come and be on this show with you guys. But as soon as I'm done, I am quite possibly going to easily sink another 10, 12 hours into that game.
That's the rest of your day
To
done.
be fair, most of that 6 hours, pretty much, yeah. To be fair, most of that 6 hours was just designing my character.
Yeah.
It's one
It's
of
embarrassing the number of people I've seen say on Twitter that they spend more time fiddling around with their character than they do actually playing the game.
Well, for me, like in Fallout 4, it actually has more importance for me because sort of whenever you're in a conversation, the character jumps out or the camera jumps out to stare at your actual character.
Yep.
So it's got to be someone that you don't mind looking at for all the dialogue of the game, basically.
That's why I would choose
Fair enough.
lady characters a lot more so than male characters. I'd rather, I don't know why. I don't know why. I just rather look at a female character, I think, than look at the big burly space marine type character we've seen a million times before. So,
Personal preference.
Yeah.
personal preference. Keegz, what have you been playing this week?
What have I been playing this week?
Quick, fire up your
I
Steam
played
activity
A
list.
bit more of Tharsis.
Yes, you did.
I played some Pony Island. I played
Yes,
The
you
Forest
did.
a bit with some friends.
What's the forest? Tell me about the forest, Keegz.
It's an early access survival game where you get attacked by cannibal people and build forts and things. I don't know. I didn't play it very long. I got bored pretty quickly. We got lost in the cave.
So it's Rust with NPC bandits, basically.
Kind of, yeah. It was pretty popular around the YouTubes a while ago when it first came out. I mean, quite a few people made videos of it because you're in a plane crash and it looks really pretty, and you got to try and find things to eat and cook food and craft things. But yeah, it's pretty shallow on the surface once you play it. I mean, I got bored with it pretty quickly.
Well, it's still early access, so yeah.
Been early access for a while though, like a year.
There should be a moratorium, a limit on early access games. It's like your game can only be in early access for 18 months or 24 months. After that, you have to release your game or drop it. At least give you something to aim towards.
Anything in early access should be forced to produce a demo that you can play rather than actually buying into it. So you can try it before you buy it if you want to buy into it.
Yeah, it's not that. It's just that there's it drags on. Like Project Zomboid is a good example. It's still in early access, and when did we play this game? 2 years ago? 18 months? 2 years at least? It was a long time ago. I'm pretty sure we played this before we started doing the podcast. In fact, I can go and look it up. Wait a minute. I shall go.
Zomboid.
Yeah, Project Zomboid. I'm just going to go and look up when
yeah.
I released that video.
To be fair, one of also the problems is with games like Project Zomboid is that the game is playable now, but the scope they actually have for the end game, like for the finished product, is very different. Like, you know, they pretty much want it as a massive multiplayer online game where you can travel between whole towns and cities, etc. And sort of, which, in all honesty, maybe shooting for the moon a little bit, you know.
I think so too.
I think they could easily take it out of early access now and then release that as DLC or like a major content update down the line.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people would be quite happy with that. But I'm sort of in agreement with Keegz where quite basically some sort of industry standard for what counts as an alpha, what counts as a beta, early access, finished product.
How do you police that sort of thing though? I mean, there's no gaming police force to put the hammer down on projects that don't.
Send it to Jim Sterling. He'll let him know.
With his giant dildo bat.
Yeah.
No, and I think it is just a sort of thing where people have to be open and honest about this and sort of agree to set standards, sort of thing, where sort of like how we even came to be at this point with early access, because Minecraft was in beta for years when it was a finished game. But to be fair, they were still doing regular content updates. Even now, they're still doing updates, and it's even when it's a finished game. And so, it did start off this whole thing where games now can spend years in alpha and then beta and then early access because the game developers feel the game isn't finished. And that's the biggest problem. The fact that it's the developers who feel the game isn't finished. And that's how you end up with games like Fallout 4, where the developers feel it is finished,
and
but
it's clearly
less
not
polished than some early access games.
Yeah, we're almost at a point now where we don't even need this whole idea of alpha, beta, early access, because games are in so weird states spread across the board that you can't really define what it is anymore.
Do you think it's
annoying?
Do you think it's worthwhile having? To give you an example, what happens with computer peripherals, not so much peripherals, but interfaces like USB and parallel ports and serial and HDMI ports? That's not governed by a central authority. What happens is that a bunch of large manufacturers like Sony and Samsung and like a bunch of other people all get together at a conference and say, we need a new standard for HDMI. Let's use HDMI as an example. So HDMI 1 has been out for ages. We need a new HDMI standard, one that can carry sound, one that does can carry this resolution at this frames per second, this many hertz, and basically do this. And what happens is that a bunch of companies all pitch their own idea about what this HDMI 2 standard should be, And I think what happens is they all vote on it, or they all come to an agreement and say, right, this is what we're going to do from now on. This is the standard. Someone draws up a white paper and says, right, this is the standard. I think it goes to the community for feedback, and if there's no significant changes made, they go ahead and ratify it and say, right, this is the standard. Everyone's going to make connectors that look like this, and they're able to do this. This is the minimum spec. Now, nobody polices that. That's all done, basically company to company. And there are reasons that you would want to get in on this standard. But I do wonder if games developers could do something similar, where a bunch of large game developers get together and say, look, we need to have a standard to say, if your game is in alpha, it has this. These are the specifications. This is the criteria. If it's in beta, it's in this. If it's in early access, it's in this. Do you guys and girls think that that there is a... Do you think this is a thing that could happen?
I think it could happen, but I also think one of the problems is it's not the AAA devs who are doing this. Like, the bigger companies, who are the ones who could get together and make this sort of agreement, they generally don't touch the alpha beta thing. I mean, at most, you get probably Blizzard is the largest company I can think of who do some form of beta tests, but then they are tests. They are quite openly tests. They're not releasing a product with an ongoing thing. It's a test for a limited set period of time. So
yeah, I guess that's the difference, because those AAAs are usually doing closed betas rather than sold pay-for betas. Although, in saying that, they have also jumped on this train of if you pre-order, you get into the beta.
Which, for some games, I can understand, because they need to do the stress testing. That's an established thing. But sort of, yeah, I think it would be nice if there could be an established what counts as alpha, beta.
Agreed standards for this sort of stuff.
Yeah, in a perfect world, that'd be awesome. But I think at the same time, that might limit some indie developers to a certain extent that don't have the time and effort. Not saying that I want to have a bunch of indie developers putting crap out like they are now, but yeah, I don't know, it's kind of, it's one end or the other, really.
But then, I mean, I'm sitting here trying to think of a reason that a AAA developer would want to get together and organise this sort of thing and pay for it and flights and what have you. The only thing I could think of is that you could accredit your early access game or beta or whatever it is with a logo that basically says this conforms to the European standard for gaming or gaming releases or something like that, and that way that someone who goes to buy something like this doesn't have to worry that it's going to be released in a super buggy state, or that it's something that they're basically not expecting or not willing to pay for. So it will be a plus in that respect, but that's the only thing I can think of.
Distribution. It's a digital distribution that would have to do that, though. So you'd have to have like Steam, Origin, all those people come together.
I'm not saying it's...
Probably not so much Origin, because Origin they release their own games, but Steam and GOG and maybe GMG, if they're going to start doing this, they'd have to get together and say, look, we need this to be the standard.
I think out of all the problems that I think getting something like this to work, that's not the smallest, but it's a fairly small one. Like if you went to Valve and said, we need...
The problem I feel, though...
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that if that happened, if we did have an industry standard across digital distribution, more people would just go to something like Kickstarter or the other, GoFundMe sort of stuff, rather than trying to get on Steam.
Well, it's not
their projects
funded. I mean, you could apply it to Kickstarter as well. It's basically someone has said this game conforms to this criteria, therefore you can use this logo whenever you advertise your game, whether it be on Kickstarter or Steam or GOG or just on their own website. So basically, if someone sees it, you go, this is a game that's not shit, or not, that is to a certain standard.
Something I think might even work better is if they changed Green Steamlight into Kickstarter, basically, where you have to... Where you have to put money in for it to become a project, rather than putting it in after it's half done. So if they had their goals they had to meet, and everybody went, well, I want this to be a game. Here's my contribution, and then it works its way through Steam Greenlight, like Kickstarter would, except they'd have to meet certain goals at certain times with the money they'd been given. Once the game is completed, then it can be sold on the thing, and anybody put money in get their copy of the game.
I mean, the one problem with that is you get situations like we just talked about with the Ant Simulator, where shit happens, basically.
Yeah.
If you tie someone down like that, they will not like it, because it will then turn around and force them to these commitments, which will cause them even more stress. I mean, indie devs even now are sleeping underneath their desks just so they can work on the game. If they get sick, even for a few days, that could be, weeks before the next. So it is such a hard one that I don't think there is any right answer. It would be nice if, again, clarity is everything. If we could get some more sort of, breakdown on what these terms mean and what is generally accepted for these terms. But
I kind of feel like it's the natural evolution, because I mean it's been done before, and it's been done in the IT, not even the IT industry, in the technical industry before, and it's all not self-policed. I mean, there's laws against using specifications that you don't have, but they organise it themselves. There's no overarching body that says, right, we need to get a new standard out. This is what we need to do. It's all just companies come together and say it's in our best interest to do this. And I think the same idea can be applied to gaming companies. And I'm not surprised they haven't done it, but I'm wondering why they haven't.
I think it is more, as you were saying earlier, it's more gaming publishers which need to get behind this, because ultimately that's what's going to make the game developers step into line and sort of get behind this. Because if it's just a bunch of game companies that get together and say, okay, this is our licenses and rules, I could easily see a lot of the smaller indie developers, like, Digital Homicide, turning around and saying, okay, you can do that. We'll be over here doing what we've always done. Which is basically buyer beware, which I'm really not a fan of.
Yeah. I mean, it's been alleviated somewhat by having Steam giving the no questions asked refund. But I mean, I guess the problem I have with Steam, that the Steam refunds, is that you've got 2 hours to figure out whether or not you are going to get a refund. For some games, that's more than enough time. For other games, not so much. I mean, what if the second half of your game is completely buggy as shit, or is just unfinished? Like you get 3/4 of the way through and it says, oh well, that's the end of the game, and that's it. You can't get your money back.
Just been 2 hours of cutscenes at the start of your game.
Or that, yes, exactly. Maybe you don't see any game in the first 2 hours.
Yeah, but then at the same time with the 2 hour thing, I mean that's cutting ties with indie developers who make short games, which some of them are brilliant games, but under 2 hours you paid $3, got a fairly decent time out of it, but you just throw it back in.
Yeah. That actually ties back into the GOG thing I was looking at earlier. It's a 14-day, no questions asked refund. It's like you could go in, test that game, finish it in a lot of cases, and then go and get your money back and move on to the next one.
Play The Witcher 3 for 2 weeks straight, and then just hand it back.
Yep, and just go, or do what I did in the case of when I bought The Witcher 3. I played it for probably about 59 minutes or an hour, and then went, yeah, this game's not for me, and got my money back.
I got my money back for that stupid pants simulator thing we played that time on stream.
Pants simulator?
Where you slap the pants off people.
Oh, yes.
I
don't know. I can't remember what it was called. That was a fun time. I liked it.
Yeah, when it worked.
Yeah, God, we were going to the wire trying to get that fucking thing to work. That stream to work. That was crazy. What other questions do we have? We had another question here before. I saw somebody said something. I think Vince asked me something about armor. Xenon, did you notice you were in a squad with Jive when you played armor? I play armor a lot, and there's only so many of us, so sooner or later I'm bound to be in a squad with Jive. I think I've been in a squad with him a lot. So No, I didn't. Which one are we talking about specifically? I don't know which one they're talking about. I'm presuming they're talking about a video that I was
your most recent one?
in.
I think you were with Drive in that one.
Possibly. I released it on Friday and didn't pay an awful lot of attention to it. Hang on. Let me just fire this up. I was a medic, as I recall. Although I think I did join someone else about halfway through, although he may have already been dead by that stage. Let me just fire it up here. Me, Ghost Boots, MPL, and Mikey. I don't think they're... maybe it's not this... Maybe not the latest video. I was a medic for Kevbo and he died early.
Good medic you are.
Well, yeah. I mean, the problem is with Arma 3 at the moment, the mod set we have is that there's no injury mechanics, or not very good injury mechanics, so basically if you get shot, you die. It's not always the case, like sometimes you get shot and injured, but there's no, like, falling over unconscious, which is what we kind of need. No, I wasn't. I don't think I was in the squad with him. Not the latest video. Maybe he posted a video. I actually see he posted some videos recently. Thirst Contact. I think it's an old one. Oh, Jive released a video today, and you're in his squad, and you didn't talk to each other at all. Well, we're not having a fight. The parents aren't fighting, Vince. It's okay. Hang on, what video was it? Yeah, some videos are like, I can't actually talk very much, so that's probably why I didn't say much to him. But anyway, okay, yes. So moving on. What else? Was that all you've been playing this week, Keegz? That's what this stemmed from, I think.
All right. I've played a bunch of little shitty games that I've been given keys for that I'll put a video out tomorrow about. Other than that, that's really it. I bought a bunch of games. I haven't really played any of them yet. I was going to do a playthrough of Black Mesa, and what else did I buy? I bought Firewatch. That comes out in a couple of days. And I bought Shoppy Keep, because that looks hilarious, and I want to make a video out of it.
What is it?
If you like the idea...
Called Shoppy Keep. It's like you run the... You make a shop and sell stuff to adventurers.
Is this spelled SHOPPE?
Yeah.
Okay, so Shopkeep.
I like to call it Shoppy Keep.
Okay, we'll call it Shoppy Keep from here on in. It's an early access game, so well done, Hypocritical Keegz.
Yeah, well, it was on sale.
That doesn't make
like
it okay. Okay. So what do you actually do in this game? You run a shop that sells
make a
swords,
shop.
apparel. This sounds a lot like Racketeer.
Yeah.
I think, isn't that one more micromanagement though? You get like 6 or so guys that you can sort of dictate where they work, etc., and what skills they train in.
Yeah, and yeah, because I wanted a game like this, and I think I looked at Racketeer, but I didn't really like how the game was.
You really have to be into
like
anime
to game at the same
play
time.
Racketeer.
Yeah, whereas this one's more like you get to actually build a sort of shop.
Okay.
Recommendation for you, Keegz, if you like games like Firewatch, is called Colat. It is
the horror one. I've seen that.
The horror one narrated by Sean Bean.
Yeah, I watched a playthrough of it. It wasn't up my alley to actually play, but I watched somebody else play it and quite enjoyed it. But
I was interested in it until I found out it's basically a collect the pages Slender Man clone.
Yeah, and that's why I'm glad I didn't play it.
That killed it for me.
Yeah,
which is sad because it's like, it's won awards.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
Slender Man clone.
Yeah, it was super interesting, and the ending was like really weird. But yeah, you're right. It was just running around collecting pages, which sort of, I'm glad I didn't play it, but I watched somebody else play it and sort of skipped all the boring shit and just watched all the storyline for it.
So you've purchased Shopkeep.
Yep, Shoppy Keep and Firewatch and a bunch of old Star Wars games.
The user reviews are very positive. I hope you enjoy Shopkeep. What has Xenon been playing this week? Let me bring up my Steam thingy that I have since minimized. You idiot, Xenon. Get your shit together. Library. Damn it, I just had it open. Activity? It's not under activity, is it? It's just under my name. That one. I'm trying to remember what I've been playing this week. It's been a long day today. It's not under activity? Where is it? Here it is. Okay, so I played 12 hours of Rocket League. No surprise there.
I was about to say Rocket League. And Rocket League.
I put in some hours in Tharsis. I didn't record it. Like I've played 2 games that I've streamed. They were the first 2 games that I played. I find the faster I play through a game of Tharsis, the worse I do, which makes sense because you spend less time thinking about it. But you get to the stage where you're like, right, I'm pretty sure I know what to do in this situation. You check the the research. You go, right, this is the only situation I can go in. Hit the go button, and I don't know what it is. The dice rolls dick me over, or I just get hamstrung with a butthole situation. Someone dies. I don't know what it is.
The dice mechanics, like the way the dice on screen roll, are the only thing stopping me from buying that game. Like it would just piss me off so much that I could not play that game because of the way those dice roll. Like, it does not seem to me to be a average system, which I know sounds stupid because it's probably just, a random number generator between 1 and 6. It's easy as all hell to code. But just the physics of those dice would piss me off too much to actually enjoy the game.
Yeah, there's a few times where they just sort of drop and sit, and you're like, well, that wasn't really a roll.
That wasn't really a roll. One of my playthroughs, I had to fix a module, and the 3s were the injury dice, or the injury, number. So I went in and went with a guy who had like two health left, and he was rolling 3 dice, and I was like, yeah, the chances of dying are fairly remote. Rolled 3 3s. I'm like, fuck, well, that's a dead guy. So I went, right, well, I'll see if I can get the second guy to come in. I think he had 4 dice or 5 dice. Rolled 3 3s, killed himself. I'm like, fuck, well, this playthrough is over. I was like, well, I'll stead the last one in, see how far I can get. Bang, 3 3s. So I rolled 3 3s 3 times in a row, killed 3 different characters. Just one after the other. Just bang, bang, bang. It's like, well, this can't happen again. Lightning does not strike the 3rd time in the same place. But it did. And I died.
Yep.
And I wrote off that.
Yeah, it's because you're in space. Different.
Yep.
It's also sort of, as with many games of that sort, you're so dependent on luck. Like, it's literally just
RNG.
which modules
RNG,
do you get, what numbers are they, sort of thing, and just so much bullshit.
I think that's what I kind of like about it, though, and it's the same reason I quite like Hearthstone, is that there is an element of skill in it, but in the end, you're down to RNG, and that sort of dictates whether your plan is going to work or not. And
I
think
Hearthstone until the paywall got too far away from me.
Yeah, you got to pay for all the doing all those stupid missions to get the new cards and everything.
Not just the missions, but like the expansion packs. I mean, now that they've got Gnomes and Goblins, whatever it was, and the Great Tournament, I'm still stuck trying to get all the basic cards. Forget the expansions. So there's no way that I can ever win, even in casual, which makes it so much harder to then get the cards.
You have to be like an everyday player to keep up with all the new cards. Even without buying them, you still have to try and do all the missions and all the daily stuff just to get enough packs to keep up with the new cards. So yeah, I stopped playing it quite a while ago.
Are you not on the Hearthstone bandwagon anymore, Keegz?
No, not really. I mean, I only ever played it for fun. I was never really into it. Some of my friends that play CS with me, they're like super into it. Like they'd be playing Hearthstone while we're playing CS.
The other thing which always pisses me off about Hearthstone, and was also the reason that I ended up quitting Magic the Gathering way back when I used to play it in physical, is that net decks, sort of, people just building these standard decks which are used in tournaments, and you can immediately tell which ones they are.
Yeah, the meta decks. Yeah.
And meta decks are just a waste of fucking time. Like,
I think that's why Hearthstone would always add new cards, because they'll constantly try and change those decks which was good but also annoying at the same time because you'd have to keep up.
Well, I remember when the Grand Tournament came out and suddenly Murloc-a-Din, the Paladin Murloc combo became so overpowered, and suddenly every second player I was facing was a Murloc-a-Din.
Yeah. Yep.
Jumping on the Murloc-a-Din bandwagon.
The bandwagon.
Bandwagon.
Murloc-a-Din bandwagon.
So, what I know about Hearthstone, and I don't know very much because I don't play and it doesn't really interest me, but the new cards that some of the new cards they introduce are very high variance cards, and by that I mean they're the sort of cards that can either win you the game or lose you the game. There's a lot of variance as to like when they come out as to how useful they're going to be. So and that's made tournament play interesting because you could games are basically can be won or lost on a card as opposed to having whoever has the best deck.
Yeah, sometimes.
That's sort of been in play since vanilla. There was a lot of cards which could just win or lose you the game based on luck. Because it's a random card draw anyway. If you draw the right cards in sequence, you could destroy an enemy in 2 turns or die 30 turns down the line.
Yeah, or you play Mad Bomber or something and it might hit you or it might hit the enemy.
Yes, that was one of the ones that I think TV was talking about, was that it kills it sets out 6 bombs, but it's random as to who the bombs are going to hit.
Yeah, but that's what kind of makes it fun, and that's why it can be a casually fun game as well. So you can just play with these ridiculous RNG cards and have a hilarious time, or just get pummeled by your own cards.
Oh, fair enough.
I actually got into Hearthstone from watching TB, and some of his gimmick decks were the reasons I got in, because I love gimmick decks. I love sort of playing that whole joking ability, which shouldn't work, but it does. I watch all those as well. I think they're hilarious.
I watched one of his streams where he played a specific mode where I think everything cost 1 or only had strength 1 or something like that. It was a 1/1 game.
That was a Tavern Brawl
Yeah.
variant.
Yeah.
Which I will actually admit, Tavern Brawl would probably be the one thing which could get me back into Hearthstone at this point.
Yeah.
Because it's so random.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of the time it is sort of, it uses pre-selected decks, or everyone's rushing to find out which decks work, so it's a much more level playing field. Which is one of the reasons TB only does the gimmick decks in Tavern Brawl now, because it's where the most fun is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
But I watched that and I'm like, I don't like card games at the best of times, and I'm sort of watching this going, I don't really follow what's going on, so that's probably not helping. But I was just like, I found it really boring. Card games are just they're not for me.
It's one of those games where it's actually really, really simple, but there's a very deep underlying knowledge that you need to know to get good.
And that was what I got from his playthrough.
I mean, you could probably play it yourself and have fun because it is quite simple to learn. But then when you start getting into the higher levels against higher people, it's more about knowing the decks and knowing what decks are working rather than just knowing the cards.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that's when it stops being fun for me, when the meta comes into play, because suddenly it's not so much thinking and being creative, it's following the preset rules. It pretty much becomes a flow chart.
That's where it kind of splits between being a casual fun game and then you've got the competitive players who want to go for legendary all the time. I mean, I have a friend who gets legendary every month. He just wants to.
Wow.
But screw that. I
mean, I understand why people like it. It's not that interesting for me. It's the same reason I didn't like Magic the Gathering. It's just it just doesn't do anything for me. I don't get the same excitement hit from flipping cards as I do for moving miniatures or shooting people in the face. So
it's pretty much the same, just in a different layout, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be fair, Magic did the same thing. In the physical world, basically, every single time they brought out a new expansion pack, it would almost always certainly counter the previous expansion pack. So if you ever wanted a hope in hell of doing good, even in just the casual circles, you needed to buy the new expansion pack, and you needed to be, running these poison decks or these artifact decks, or, have this card, and it just became so pointless in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guess that's the problem with all those sort of, I guess those constantly adding, what'd you call them? I don't even know what you call them.
I don't know, what are we talking about?
Theories, I guess.
Expansions.
Expansions, yeah. I mean,
So-
but that's what keeps these games alive, I guess, is that they constantly update, even if it costs money. And it just sort of grabs the whales who are happy to continuously pay for this and keeps it going on forever, I guess.
Yeah.
Hearthstone's one of those games where it's actually quite fun to watch, though.
I
And I think that's what gave it its legs.
Yeah, I mean, I know people like watching it, but I don't like watching it, so... Rocket
Yeah,
League
if
is
you-
my Hearthstone. I understand that people probably don't really like
Oh,
watching
God,
Rocket
yeah.
League either, but... yeah, I
Oh
love
no,
playing Rocket
Rocket
League.
League's amazing to watch. I love watching.
I actually don't like watching Rocket League either. I like watching myself play Rocket League. Well, no, I like playing Rocket League, but I actually don't like sitting there and watching Rocket League. Like, I've watched some of the finals because they're really good players, but yeah, I don't really like them. I don't really like it that much either.
I didn't find it as interesting as I thought I was going to.
Half the time when I'm watching Rocket League, I find myself going, "What are they doing? How are they doing that? Okay, I need to try that in free play next time I'm playing." And just trying to learn
amazed.
how to get better, basically.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed at how much time they spend in the air, like the
Yep.
whole fucking time.
It's all
They're
aerial.
Almost
Crazy
never
aerials.
touching the ground. CS:GO is my gaming.
That is your
choice to
game.
watch
I
and
will
play.
be right back.
Okay, doke.
Okay.
I've also been playing... I fired up City Skylines. I don't have the expansion, which we talked about last week, but I fired up City Skylines this week just because I don't know, I was watching reading an article on it or something, and I was like, God, I'd like to build something. So I sat down for a couple of hours and built some stuff and went, oh, that's it. That's that niche field. I moved on to something else. Keegz and I also played Who's Your Daddy? And we played that...
Oh yeah.
We were going to play it on stream, but the stream didn't work because of dodgy equipment, so I recorded it, but I don't think I'm going to make a video out of it because Keegz has already made a PSA announcement video out of it, so go and watch that instead.
my Tumblr post.
Yeah, your
video.
parental guidance video. Yeah, go and check it out on Keegz' channel if you haven't seen it already, it's pretty good. I played some Scrap Mechanic, but nothing on sort of would stream. It's just basically me building more stuff. It was I think I played City Skylines. Once I got bored of that, I fired up Scrap Mechanic and built something else. So I had a building mood the last couple of weeks. So, and apart from that, I haven't played much else because I've been busy as with real life. So it's been fun.
Damn real life.
Damn real life gets in the way of my gaming time. So. Yeah, if anybody else has any questions, hit us up now. Otherwise, we shall end this thing. Is there anything else we have to cover, Keegz? It's late in the night and I've been up all day.
Don't think so. I think we've covered most of it.
I think we've got it all, haven't we? Anything you wanted to
I think we're
add?
done here.
Anything anybody else wanted to add? Just going through the topics now, going, yes, we covered all this. Cool. Alright, well I think we'll call it there. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. If you want to check out some more of Keegz' content, what is your YouTube URL, Keegz? Where can they find you on the YouTubes?
That's a good question. Keegz Gaming, I think, or Keegl Gaming. Fuck, I don't even know.
You should know this, Keegz.
Yeah.
YouTube Gaming 101. If you want to check out my content, well, you're already on the channel, so click the like and or subscribe button below. But if you, for some reason, I don't know, this is on SoundCloud, and you're like, oh, I'd like to check that out later, go to youtube.com/Xenon3D, it's about Xenon3D, and check out my content there.
Yeah, I'm Keegl Gaming. It's KEGEL Gaming.
What else have we got? So you don't have a... Do you have a YouTube channel or a Twitter or anything else you'd like to spruik while we're here?
Not really. I'm thinking about getting one set up and starting to stream some videos, etc. But I just haven't had the time for that in the past year due to university, etc. So
I hear it's all the
keep an eye out
rage.
for upcoming stuff.
Yes, you'll be forging a new path. Nobody's ever streamed games on YouTube before.
I know it's
Ooh,
breathtaking new ground.
Yes. Well, Keegz and I thought we'd get on early, but it turns out we didn't. So, right.
People are already here, the bastards.
Yes, somebody
You
else
didn't play
stole
the-
my
no,
idea.
The thing is, you didn't play the clueless Minecraft videos where you spent 12 hours learning how to punch wood.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. I should have
Should have
recorded
jumped on that bandwagon early when I was. Yeah,
Should've.
bloody hell. Could have made millions.
We could be living right next to Notch right about now.
Yeah, that's right.
Check me out on my Twitter, Xenon_ST. Check out Keegz on his Twitter at Keegz. And I think we'll call it there. Thanks very much for watching, everybody, and we shall see you all in 2 weeks' time. I don't think there's any reason for us not to be here in 2 weeks, is there, Keegz? As far as you know?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
But check out our Twitter. We'll post any updates there if we're not going to be there, or if we change the date, as we sometimes do. Thank you very much for our special guest, English today, and we may well have her on in the future, because she knows a lot more about the gaming world than we do, as it turns out.
No, I'm just better at bullshitting.
Better at bullshit, better at Google foo. I think that's what it all came down to. Cool. All right.
Likely story.
Thanks very much for watching, everybody, and we'll see you all in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.
Bye.